And welcome everybody here and everybody watching at home. We welcome you this evening. The day is August 12th, Wednesday. The time is 2:33, and I call this meeting to order. We will start with our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Invocation led by Councilwoman Sandra Bowen and pledge of allegiance led by Councilman Robert Molina. Please rise.
The prayer first. Let us bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you today once again to thank you for the many blessings that you have provided, and we also thank you for the blessings that you will bestow upon us in the next days to follow. Lord, we ask that you be with this council today as we make decisions for this city. May everything we do and say bring honor and glory to you. And also, Lord, I ask for a special prayer for our law enforcement today and our first responders and our first liners. Lord, please grant them the edge of protection and guidance in all they do as well. In your holy, precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please turn and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Agenda item number 2, citizen comments. And it looks like we do not have citizen comments today. No. And then public announcements. Mr. Burke?
None, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Molina?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay, at this time, I have announcements. I would like everybody to please rise. We're going to take this time to take a moment of silence for a very special, dear person, Mr. Liao, and all who have lost their lives to coronavirus. Please rise. We'll take a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Liao was a very special person to the city of Alice. He not only was a great community person involved in so many different things, but he also served the city of Alice as an aquatics director for our natatorium, for our multi-use center. And he knew that place inside and out and took care of the kids when they were there. He really was a gem, and he really did well for us. He was missed when he left us, and he's truly missed now. May he rest in peace. And as far as our coronavirus, it's sad to say that we have lost people close to us in the city of Alice, and it saddens me, as I'm sure it saddens everybody around us. Please continue to be safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, do those things, the simple things that we can do. Social distance, still very important. Please remember, gatherings are still not allowed. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 3. Administer oath of office to new Alice Police Department officers, Officer Selena R. Rodriguez and Officer Zachary M. Jaramillo. I'm going to have you all come to the front, and I'm going to step down. If council will just rise from back here for us. I'm going to come down to y'all. We're going to start with Selena. So Selena, you can step a couple feet forward. Very special lady. Raise your right hand. I, Selena R. Rodriguez,
I, Selena R. Rodriguez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will faithfully execute
or affirm that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the Office of Police Officer of the State of Texas,
to the duties of a police officer of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
and will to the best of my ability to preserve,
protect, and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States and of this state,
and laws of the United States and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you in advance for all the service.
Sure.
And then the mayor will sign it.
Mr. Zachary, do you please step forward and raise your right hand? I, Zachary M. Jaramillo,
I, Zachary M. Jaramillo,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I have not directly or indirectly, I faithfully execute, I'm so sorry, let's start this again. There's two parts to this. Selena, we might have to do her again, right? Because we didn't do the second part? Okay. I, Zachary M. Jaramillo, I'm so sorry,
I, Zachary M. Jaramillo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of police officer
that I will faithfully execute the duties of a police officer
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States and of this state,
and the laws of the United States and this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Should I do that second part? The one that's
Yes.
at the bottom? Okay. I, Zachary M. Jaramillo,
I, Zachary M. Jaramillo,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered, promised to pay,
offered, promised to pay,
contributed,
contributed,
or promised to contribute any money
promise or contribute any money
or valuable thing,
or valuable thing,
or promised any public office or employment
or promise any public office or employment
as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation thereof,
as a, say it one more time. It's a little
as a
fast, right?
reward to secure my appointment
As a reward to secure my employment
or confirmation thereof,
and confirmation thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
And I'm fogging up.
It's okay.
Congratulations
Thank
and
you.
thank you. And I think that should be for me again. And I apologize, you guys. I am very honored to be doing this today. Sadly, this is my first oath of office for police officers after almost 4 years in office. So I apologize. I have not done this before, and it's a huge honor. And I'm probably more nervous than they are because it's such a big honor to me to do this for both of you and for the City of Alice Police Department. So I apologize. And I'm hot with this thing on. There you go. I can't see. My glasses are fogging up.
You're fine. Thank you.
Thank you. So Miss Selena,
You're
we're
gonna
gonna do
read.
this right. Come on, Selena, we're gonna do this again, and I apologize, but I just wanna make it right. Okay, I, Selena R. Rodriguez,
I, Selena R. Rodriguez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I will faithfully execute
that I affirm that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of police officer of the state of Texas
the duties of an officer of the state of Texas
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States of this state.
and laws of the United States and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Selena R. Rodriguez,
I, Selena R. Rodriguez,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered,
offered,
promised to pay,
promised to pay,
contributed,
contributed,
or promised to contribute
or promised to contribute
any money or valuable thing,
any money or valuable thing,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation thereof.
as a reward to secure my confirmation thereof
For my appointment.
for my appointment.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you both.
If we could have the two fathers come up here and their badges on.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me.
Alice and James County. What a great legacy that you both are providing for your children. A beautiful legacy that many can't do, and so I thank all of you. And especially you guys, I wish you all the best and wish you safety always. Thank you. Thank you for all you do and will continue to do for us. Thank you. And again, I apologize. I'm not usually nervous, it just made me nervous.
Jolene, do you want a picture with everybody?
Yes,
Council
please,
members?
one picture
One
with the
full
mayor,
picture.
please.
Y'all want a picture with everybody? Mayor, council, kids.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
All ready?
Yes. Thank you.
Chief, you're supposed to be in there too.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
Chief, go ahead, sir.
This is strictly a family affair. I
They're yours now.
mean. I'll take them over out the door.
Go in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's neat, huh? Yeah.
Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Big hugs. Thank you all very much. Thank you, sir. Congratulations again.
Hey, man, good job, man. So proud of you, man. God bless you guys, man. How's the baby? He's not a baby anymore, no?
We'll miss you, but congrats.
Congratulations.
Happy for you. Stay safe, brother.
Here.
Bye.
Thanks.
Stay safe out there. Congratulations.
Sorry, guys. I failed y'all.
No.
Congratulations.
It was like,
We're all nervous.
Reminds me of when we took our oath, right?
that was a lot easier than
That was
this.
a long time ago.
So they were both their children.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? That's Albert's daughter.
That is
She was
great.
our coach. Oh.
I've known her for years. I didn't know that was her.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't know that there was even. And I
Oh,
know him,
Albert.
and I know her, and I'll never put
Like,
two and
wait
two
a
together.
minute, Selena. I'm like, I never knew her last name. Wow.
I'm
That's
so
nice. We
happy
got two
for
more.
her.
Very nice.
That's great.
Okay.
Great, great, great.
All right, agenda item number 4, after an emotional and sweaty time. Sorry again. Agenda item 4, review and discussion of the 2019-2020 fiscal year revised City of Alice budget and 2020-21 fiscal year proposed City of Alice proposed budget.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Last week, we went over an overview of the entire budget. Of course, we did go into some line items. This week, what we're going to go is go more by department with, and having the our directors talk about their department, some of the cuts they made, some of the things they do. And as they're up here, we can look at that department, and some line items if you guys wish. Overall, probably the trend that we're going to hear is cutting a lot of overtime. We're trying to work more efficiently as we can, be more mindful of the overtime. Also, one of the things that we're moving into is a new software system that we've done. It's a lot of work, and that, of course, the automated part of it is less back and forth with papers and POs and more of a, we're software based, so it's saving a lot of time. And initially, of course, it takes more time to do that and figure it out, but overall, I think that's gonna help us. We're cutting, of course, travel and things like that. So those are the big picture items, but just becoming as efficient as we can in these times. And so what we'll do right now is I'd like to start with, on the administration side, Leticia Gonzalez, Project and Compliance, and she'll go over some of the things that we do on that end.
Good afternoon. So I'm Project Compliance Administrator Leticia Gonzalez, and I'm just going to go over a view of everything that we do. I mean, not everything, because it's more than what this is all in a nutshell, because I don't have like an hour. So I'm going to start with our risk management department. They put in a corrective action plan in progress for us to make sure that we are in compliant with things that we need to do as a city. And so I meet with them on a weekly basis to discuss liabilities, safety plans, claims, things like that we get through the city. I'm also working with our HR department, working on succession planning for all departments, making sure that we have the people in place to cross-train, things like that, so we're not left without, if somebody quits or leaves or, God forbid, dies, we have somebody that can take over whatever department needs to be taken over. We're updating the handbook for current employing trends and policy changes, so that's something else we're working on with HR. IT, they're working on executive time with our finance department, executing the new time clocks in all departments, so we can keep track of time and comp time and things like that. They're also working on gas key training for the pumps out at the garage. There was only one person that used to do that, and so they're looking into the process on how that works and how we can continue to, make new keys, and working with camera at Anderson Park. As you know, and I've discussed with some of you that Anderson Park, we're having problems with the restrooms getting vandalized, and we put in new doors. We welded on some stuff out there because they were getting vandalized on a weekly basis. So that was a big problem, so we're working on cameras there. And that's IT also working with that. They pull reports for me on a weekly on our utility billing, because I know that there has been some customer service issues that we've discussed. And so we're working with them and, with customer service, answering the phones, things like that. So they pull reports on a weekly to see what the trends are, where we're busy, where we need coverage, where, what's going to make us answer those phones faster. That falls under Roland Finance, and Roland's been real supportive with the changes there. He's been real supportive with us doing the customer service changes, extending the hours for our citizens, especially right now during COVID. He's been helping out with that. We're also succession planning in that department as well. We're using library staff. Since the library is on appointments right now, we're using the library staff to come in and kind of do some training with them and cross-train so we can provide that customer service that we need. They set up some parallels over at the library so they can have like a call center type of thing over at the library, and they're answering phones over there for the utility billing department and taking payments over the phone. So that's something else we're working on. Permits and codes, we're working on process improvements there for a one and done customer service experience, because people come in with wanting permits and things like that, and we're sending them here, go there. So we're working on a process that's gonna work for all departments to just do a one and done. So the customer doesn't get upset and says, well, they send me here, they send me there. We have a one and done. We're looking to revamp some of the outdated ordinances that we have. So that's something that Patrick and I are working on, and Dina in that department. Our engineering department working on the San Diego levy, but due to COVID and the halt, it's been at a halt. It's working slower than normal because of COVID. I mean, we have so much that we're working on that COVID has kind of put us at a slower pace than we normally want to work at. So that's one of the things that is on our radar, and we're working on that. We're working on process improvements to do imaging of the plans as they come in, so we have them in an imaging area where we can go and find them instead of like, well, where are they or what was there before? Working on a process to keep them in, in the system, so we can go back and look them up. We're working on the gas vent trench at the landfill and cell F for the landfill as well. So that's all in our engineering department. We're working on an auction. We just started working on this auction about 2 weeks ago. So every department is looking at all their inventory to see what assets that we no longer need that we can sell at this auction to make some money. I'm trying to work on asset sheets for tools, for our tools that belong to our city, so we know what we have, what we don't have. So I'm gonna work. That's something that I just talked to Vanessa in finance about yesterday, and so we're working on making sure that we keep track of our assets. So I'm also doing a Public Works Operations Interim Director. So aside all this other stuff, I'm working as a Public Works Operations Interim, and so we've made cuts there in streets. We've cut fuel, apparel, travel, and cell phone. In parks, we've cut equipment repair, maintenance supply, in-house, and parks and rec supplies. And so in Public Works Operations, the projects we have working there are county and interlocal agreement that we just did with Huicho Gonzalez. We're working on cleaning up brush and kind of working on areas that we need to clean up brush in that district or that precinct, and then also getting use of our asphalt zipper. So we've been in talks, and we're meeting and, you know, trying to work that out. We're working on bathrooms at the baseball fields. That's something that's still on our radar as well. Hay baling agreement for the airport, we're working on that as well. And clearing out the old shed at the golf course. As a matter of fact, that's already done. So the golf course shed, the old one, it's gone. We're just cleaning up the rest of the whatever was out there. And we're working on intersections that may need stop signs. So that's another project that Streets is working on. The Parks Department continues mowing all over the city. They're sandbagging and I'm working on a graffiti artist for the Anderson Park restroom, so we can maybe wrap it with some graffiti art, something that's gonna look hip, that nobody would wanna paint over. And then the golf course, I'm working on the irrigation system over there. We're having some issues there. And lastly, we have the Easy Go Kart contract that's coming up in January that we're working on as well. Any questions?
Ms. Bowen?
Not at this time, thank you.
Mr. Molina?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
Not this time, thank you.
Thank you.
Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Great job, thank you.
So a little bit on that, one of the things that utility.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Crisp. I forgot you were there, I'm so sorry. Any questions, Mr. Crisp?
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Speak up.
Now I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. If
Okay,
I do,
next.
I'll come back to it, or I'll email the whole group. But I lost my train of thought there for a second. I apologize now that I made you address me, and now I can't even think of what I was going to ask.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
It's okay, we can come back if you remember, we'll just come back to it.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'll start writing them down. So
Okay.
I'm unmuting myself, so I don't want to interrupt. Thank you.
Okay, no problem, thank
One of the
you.
things I wanted to kind of follow up on is on, Letitia's been working on the utility billing side for a while, and we get a lot of complaints from the public on, you know, not answering phones or people not being available. So, and we did a study to see what's taking the time, or what are we doing wrong and so we figured that what happens a lot of times, people call in and that call may be 15, 20 minutes. And so that person, utility billing, is stuck there on that phone, and if you have 3 or 4 people and you have 4 or 5 phone calls, the phone's gonna roll over and it's gonna take a while to answer. So we do get help from the second floor, third floor answering phone calls. But as we studied it, we realized we need to have some separation to also have a call center type. So somebody's just gonna be on the phone and not have to go back and forth from the window to the phone. So there's a lot of revamping down there. And adding the additional time, so we're doing flex, or we're doing the 4-day work week to allow them to work the 10 hours and get those in and open 30 minutes earlier, 30 minutes late for the public, and open on Saturdays also. And Saturdays, the 2 Saturdays we've been open, we've had quite a bit of people come in and utilize the utility billing services. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at, you know, differently. When your directors and your staff are constantly working, sometimes it's hard to step back and say, how do we fix these things? And so when we bring somebody like Letitia in to look at all the processes we have, it really helps. Now, we have tasked her and Demetrio with splitting the duties of Victor Science, who was with us for a long time and retired. And so, you know, those are interim duties, and I don't want to take away from continuing the progress that we've made. So we have them helping out, and they've done a really good job helping out on the interim duties. Demetrio has the garage, and Letitia took the golf course and streets and parks. And so they've done a really good job with that. Roland, do you want to talk a little bit about the finance and Encode and those things?
Sure.
Can I ask a question just on phones? So when you say phones, are you talking about just calls that come in for utility department, like the water department, or phone calls coming into the city? Like
This is
as a
just
whole?
Utility billing, calling
Okay.
specifically for that.
Because I know we have a problem, and I've said this 4 years ago, that we need somebody that's reception type that can just answer the calls from just the general public. That I know that's shared too, and I think we're inefficient in that because that's a big part of the complaints that we get, that people don't answer the phones here and things like that. And I've said it from day one, a receptionist that has those duties, you know, with a small set of duties could probably alleviate that.
Well, we just we're bringing somebody, in, I think, where's Patrick? Tomorrow morning, somebody's gonna start in that role as a receptionist downstairs.
Okay.
Letting people in and monitoring
Right.
that, but also, you know, that's the start of that idea of having somebody that can direct that traffic and fielding the calls and knowing where they're supposed to go.
Yeah, that's very good. I think it's worth the investment
Yeah.
for our citizens to have
Are they
that.
gonna have a desk down there, or, wow,
Good, good, good.
very necessary.
Yeah. Awesome. Council, any questions? Mr. Crisp? No. Okay, Ms. Bowen?
Well, I'm just curious. I've had some questions from our citizens about the stop sign on Rose and Stadium. I don't know if I can discuss that or ask that question, but are we,
It's part of the budget, so,
okay,
yeah,
good
we're,
deal.
we're,
Are
we
we
bought the
putting,
stop sign.
what are they called, rumble strips or,
No,
no?
no, it's actually gonna be a stop sign.
Right, but are we putting those for warning before the sign comes?
There'll be a stop sign, what do they call it, advance.
The
That
flashing.
stop sign saying that
Okay.
there's a stop ahead.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah, there'll be that, but there's not like a speed bump thing kind of thing,
Right,
is that
that's
what
what
you're
there
talking
was,
about?
something
Yeah,
like
no.
that. Okay, good deal. I'll let them know. And also, thank you for putting it on the website as well, because that was easy to share, to get out to the public. So that was a good thing y'all did.
That was,
Yes, good point, Ms.
Nellie?
Bowen.
Nellie,
Great job, Natalie.
She's,
Good job.
she's the one that put it out.
Good
Goes
job.
up Tuesday, right?
Right, and
Yeah.
so, we hit the 3-week mark, and so our process is, you know, we have that, stop sign coming soon for 3 weeks.
Yep.
Let the public know yesterday that next week on Tuesday, the stop sign will be up, and then a day before on Monday, we'll let them know again on a tweet, that tomorrow it's here, and then the day of, here it is. And
Good.
so that stop sign will be up on Tuesday of next week. It'll be 4 weeks from the date that we put the stop sign coming up.
Plenty of
And we'll
warning.
have the advance,
Yes.
signs on there too.
Good.
Great, good job on that.
We'll have some police presence too that first day, to kind
Kind
of
of to
get
slow
people
down the
aware.
area. Okay. Good.
Very
to
good.
go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms.
Thank you,
Bowen,
Mayor.
anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Molina?
Just, if I could, because you said like it's kind of open right now, right, more or less. Can you give us an update on the Rialto? What's going on over there?
Yeah, so today, we engaged that firm from last time on Camacho Construction. And so we're waiting on an engineering report and the form to be filled out. And then once they get that done, we should be ready to go 24 hours after that. And it's in scheduling right now. So we've been, this past 2 weeks, we've been talking to them about specifics, how they're gonna do it, how notification and those things. But it's in process. One thing to know that I know from the outside, the floor is caving in, but when you look in, so the structure, there are beams inside, big metal beams there's one right inside and then another 15, 20 feet up, there's another one further in and in the back. And that's kind of what's holding the structure up. Right now, it's the second floor has fallen. It was concrete in the bathroom and things like that, so that's fallen. But tomorrow on Thursdays is when they have their scheduling meeting. And so we should know tomorrow the actual date that they're gonna be here, but it shouldn't be, this is not gonna be another 2 weeks before they get here, but we'll know tomorrow on a date.
So it's been escalated to like an emergency level.
It is emergency.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
I have a question on that.
Yes, ma'am.
The barricades that we have out there now, are they properly placed where you feel that it's safe? I mean, they
Yeah.
don't have to be more out, or we don't have to close the street yet, or any of that.
No, I think, and it may continue that ceiling may continue to drop. There's a third floor that is, well, it's angled because it was angled to begin with, but there may be some more movement inside, but once they get started, we're gonna close the,
She brings a good point. I wonder if we should just close that portion.
we can. I mean, we
I
can
would
close
feel
a
more
portion of that
comfortable if
street.
we did, at least
I'm
that
just
block.
so worried that.
Yeah, because if something falls and comes out, I just think it's a liability, and public safety is,
We can do that.
I think that would,
We'll look at that this
Okay.
afternoon.
Thank you.
you.
How about just barricading the parking area?
Just that, that
Whole
one block
section.
part.
So, and
Yeah.
And on that, we may want to, something we may want to look at and it, as it relates to the budget as well, is, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do for the water tower is in the same type of boat. It's,
Yes.
we're extending the fence. If you notice, there was, the fence has been, temporary fence has been moved out, and we're contracting with A1 Quality Fencing to push the fence out far enough. There were some pieces of concrete that fell, about the size of a brick, 3 of them. That, from the time that our parks crews or streets crews were maintaining the lot, from 1 week, it was like a 2-week period, they noticed the debris that had fallen. So we've got to be real careful with that, but we're also going to go out for bids and see what it's going to cost to probably potentially demolish that as well.
I would like to see the opposite also.
Mhm.
To compare,
Yeah.
it could be ridiculous, but I wouldn't like to give up hope on something that's so historical for a
Exactly.
lot of people. I would hate to just have a demo quote and not a restoration quote, even though it's gonna be astronomical. I would like to see that, though.
And one thing to think about that water tower, and you look at the lifespan of concrete in general and where it is in that lifespan. When you look at those things and you're like, okay, is it in restoration? Is it in failure mode? Is it time for demolition? And those things, if you do a study like that, one thing that you have to consider also is this thing is getting vibrations from the railroad 5 times a day. And that's not something that happens to, smaller concrete water towers that are in the middle
Yeah.
of in the country or other places. So I think, that just the vibration is probably gonna lessen the lifespan of a concrete water tower like that. But we are gonna, talk to an engineer and get some more information.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chris? Oh,
Well, I thought
Yeah.
they had already done an evaluation about it, and
We-
it said like it
It's
couldn't
old.
10 years
withstand
ago.
like 70-mile-per-hour winds.
it's
or
too
something.
old. The evaluation
Yeah,
was
but
what?
I
It was
think
like
that
a-
evaluation
80?
that was done 20 years ago also stated
1980?
even at that time
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that
I have a
it
copy.
was recommended for demolition, if I'm not mistaken.
Back then.
It was done in like 96 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
When did we get those drone photos? It showed all those cracks and stuff all over it.
We can get them.
No, we had some.
We had some, yeah.
Yeah.
That was this year.
That was
I want to
this
say
year,
it
right?
was,
Yeah.
I would just like to see options, and I'm sure our citizens would like to see that we didn't just decide demo
Exactly.
without the option of, it's not like we're gonna pump water out of it. We're just restoring the historical fact that a lot of people that are from here have a lot of memories.
We'll just
A
make
man
it
lost
shorter.
his life building it, yeah.
Be shorter,
I
cut it in
mean,
half.
We can't forget that somebody lost his life building it, and I
Yeah.
just feel it would be a shame to demo something like that.
But if it
But-
falls,
To put a memorial.
165 feet tall, believe from 50 and 100. Sideways, it's into the highway.
That's what I had
Just,
asked.
the distance from there to the
at
highway.
least we're looking
Yeah.
into it, right? I mean,
Right.
we're starting some action items to.
Oh, yeah.
And heaven forbid it comes down on a train
That too.
while it's passing. You know what I mean? So then what does that do to the train? It derails it too. So there's a lot there to think about. So
For Cinco de Mayo, yes.
there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Safety of our citizens, right?
But those
About
options
that
will be
too.
coming before you guys.
Look some options.
But I thank you,
Thank you,
Michael,
Michael.
in advance
Yes.
for that work that you're gonna research. Mr. Burke, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Okay.
General fund?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go over the general fund changes from the last budget meeting till now. We reduced our city clerk, other professional, which was the election, by $8,000. We removed $1,566 in salaries from finance and transferred that to the hotel motel. We unfunded one administrative secretary in the police department, but we added another support service supervisor in the police department administration. And the difference between the admin secretary and support services position was an increase of $3,172.
Can you tell me where you're at, Roland, or
Hey,
The general fund sheet.
on this?
The recap sheet, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
under general fund?
Yes, ma'am.
fourth
Okay.
bullet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We unfunded one records clerk position, but we added one dispatch supervisor position. So that was a difference of an increase of $5,949. We funded the crime evidence tech position for the police support services, and that added $43,612. And we unfunded one sergeant position and funded one additional patrol officer, which was a savings of $28,884. We changed 5 patrol officers to cadets for a 9-month period. So that was a savings of $33,535. And we added another $20,000 to pay for the police academy for the cadets. We moved 4 light equipment operators from the streets department to parks department. So that was a transfer of the salary of $154,340 roughly. And we unfunded 1 mechanic position in the garage department, and we transferred an employee to the golf course as a groundskeeper supervisor. That salary that was transferred was $48,574. We unfunded the grant specialist position in the general fund. So that gave us a savings of $19,961. And we transferred back a portion of that salary to the hotel motel, to the grants administration department, which was $3,460. Are there any questions on the general fund?
Mr. Burke?
Okay, one question, I don't know if you can answer it or not, but the position of crime evidence tech position, is that necessarily something we want to eliminate? Or at one time, wasn't it a supplemental position? Is it something that the chief would recommend one way or another on that, or?
Yes.
Well, thank you for that question. They had, before I got here, a evidence technician. And a big part of that salary and goal was for them to go out and actually do and process crime scenes and take care of the evidence property room. Recall we had talked about that a few weeks ago. I learned that, and that position was done away with back in 2019.
2019. We made it an additional duty, yeah.
An additional
Was
duty
19.
to the sworn position, and you made it an add-on to a patrol officer position. What I've seen since I've been there, and I've spoken to y'all about this the last few months, is that, we need to get a better handle on our evidence and just general property room. That's not a full-time job. But we also need to have someone that's keeping up with our equipment. You've heard Leticia talking about inventories and that sort of thing. We're really catch as catch can when it comes to that. And in particular, saying, okay, this is still serviceable, or this is not serviceable, and we need to get rid of it. So there again, that's a part of this job. The other part is vehicles. We have a huge investment in the fleet. And we need someone that works with a garage. I have found this very successful, other places I've been, that keeps up with the cars, knows what's going on with them, knows when they need to get serviced and maintenance, and gets them there. And it makes no sense to me to have a sworn officer, and it usually ends up being a supervisor, that's out there crawling around through these cars trying to figure out, does this computer need to come out? What's broke here? How do we get it fixed? It's just a waste of money from where the sworn personnel should be spending their time. So this position is going to be a multifaceted position. It's going to have a lot of duties to perform. But, we're just like the military. We have to have our back of house and our support services working well. Otherwise, you got line troops in the middle of trying to keep up with that stuff. And some things lend themselves to that, others don't. And these duties don't lend themselves to being farmed out to this person or that. As I like to say, I want to have one throat to choke. And this way, we know who's responsible. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Burke, any other questions?
No, it's all.
Okay. Mr. Molina?
Roland, the transferred salary to the golf course, $48,573. So that's in addition to what we're going to be spending the golf course?
Well, there's a minus. There's a minus at the garage and a plus at the golf course, but that's not the full.
No,
That's taking the place of a groundskeeper that.
Yeah,
that
we
is no longer
unfunded.
there.
Yeah, we
It was
unfunded.
already-
It's a supervisor, yeah. So it's a slight increase, the golf course, but not the full salary.
What's the increase, you know?
I think it's about 13,000.
Yeah.
And we're also looking at the golf course, see, making sure we need all the positions that are there. There are some positions that are managerial positions that, you know, we may not need, so we're looking at those as well. So when we come back, you know, at the final, it may be actually lower.
Okay,
Good, Mr. Molina.
that's all, sorry.
Ms. Bowen?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Crisp? Mr. Crisp?
Going through the general fund, I noticed that, you know, we're making tons of cuts, and I noticed that we are down 30,000 on the library. But I feel like with the loss of funding that we've seen recently from the county, and to be perfectly honest, the fact that it was never really funded properly, that we really need to evaluate what we're doing there and bring that down. That's $250,000. And I just want to make sure that we're spending on something that is properly utilized, and that we're moving things in the right direction. So just something, I know that you're already looking at and shaving and doing this, that, and the other, but, you know, what do we need to do there, if anything, if we can, to really look at that? Because yes, you brought it down 30,000, but we also lost $50,000 of income from the county. So there's still an even more negative, you know, there's still negative there. Just wanted to put that out there so that we can really evaluate some of these things.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Go ahead.
where's, where did we lose that 50,000? I missed that.
The county was funding the city 50,000, probably based on an old agreement. I don't know where the exact number came from, because the agreement that the county had with the city from the 70s, I believe, but you know, in the 70s, was that they were supposed to cover what percent of? 45% of our expenses. That has not been happening. And we were also funding part of the Fremont Library. So on last year's budget, that was there. And so when the librarian position came up over there, we weren't funding it. We had a bunch of phone calls on why the city wasn't funding the Fremont librarian position. And I answered several times, you know, that's Fremont, that's not us, and we're not gonna fund it. We're in the middle of declining revenues. And so the county decided that they weren't gonna fund us the 50, because they're gonna fund the Fremont library. So in all fairness, we need to be asking them to help fund the Alice Library, which is the county for the library for the Jim Wells County. So, you know, that's something that needs to be looked at.
I didn't mention.
And why aren't they funding the 45% that was agreed upon? You said we're in the 70s?
This is an old agreement,
Okay.
and it's, I don't know. Something that needs to be worked on with them, and I'd like them to fund our library 45% based on that agreement. You know, I went back and forth with the county attorney on some of those things, so we haven't really got anywhere on that. But we may need to revise that old agreement. And if you guys want to bring it up as an agenda item, we certainly could.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
All right.
Be nice, especially like you said, in these trying times where, you know, our revenues are, I mean, we're in a crisis, I mean, and you guys are, got a lot on your plate trying to kind of sort all this out and keep everybody working. That number's always
We need to also
popped
remember
out.
that the majority of the citizens of Jim Wells County reside in Alice, Texas. And I'm not discounting any of the other cities, but for the fact that they decided to defund our library, which supports a larger percentage, is a hard sell for me in this economy that we're dealing with. That we have to, you know, pick up the slack on all of that for something that has supposed to been split. And if I'm not mistaken, it's actually the Jim Wells County Library, not the City of Alice Library. So just something to think about.
We can add fire to that. Just saying.
Oh, definitely.
What's that?
We can add fire department to that,
Right.
that we share a huge amount for the county and have.
And I know that
a long time.
that they've been working on that too. I know that Michael's been working on that, and even for the last, even before Michael, if I'm not mistaken, even before Michael, when Michael was on council, that was an issue that was brought up with the previous judge. And we're spending $800,000 plus outside the city limits on fire protection.
Yep.
These are monies that our citizens of Alice are being taxed to take care of people that are not in the city of Alice.
Correct.
So it's just we have a lot of hard sells here, and we have a lot of cuts that need to be made, and not that we ever want to cut off the ability to take care of people outside the city limits, but the idea that we
have
are
to take care of
basically
ours
being
first.
forced to pay for it is a completely different scenario.
Right.
Well, and we're through mutual aid, we cover a lot of these places, but we're the primary responder.
Right.
For outside the city limits, and outside any of the incorporated areas that have either a volunteer or a paid fire department. And that's where, it's not like we wouldn't help if
Correct.
the county had a
Exactly.
fire department
Right.
outside, because we would. It'd be a mutual aid, but this is where we're primary.
Right.
And so, in roundabout numbers, and we've been talking about this for years, but in roundabout numbers, about 600,000, let's say, on average, of we're first responding outside the city limits. That's our city taxpayers paying that.
Right.
Okay? So, we can't, and so when you look at, I'll put it this way, and these are round numbers on average. Half of the population, let's say, half the tax base of Jim Wells County is in the city of Alice. So if we just say, you know what, county, just pay us $600,000, well, half of that is gonna come from the citizens of Alice again, right? In
Right.
there. So the proper way to look at it, and we've talked, from Patrick and I have talked about it from this, and I've even had the conversation with the county judge as well.
Right.
There needs to be a fire district or emergency service district outside the incorporated cities, or outside of wherever there's a volunteer or a fire department, a city that has a fire department outside the incorporated city of Alice. And that becomes an emergency services district that taxes to fund whatever the fires are going to be fought outside the city limits in those areas. And so that's the way that needs to happen. It's happened, Ben Bolt, I think, went ahead and did a emergency service district. Is that what it was? Yeah. So there's a process there that has happened already. It just needs to be enacted countywide. So the citizens of Alice won't have to be paying as first responders primary response outside the city limits.
Right.
And that has an effect on, we're talking about $600,000, and that's a lot for us.
I think on the city's part, the research has been done,
Yeah.
and I think we just need to bring it back bring it to the table with council to enact this demand to pay up. Because I know since I've been here, we've been talking about it. I sat with the previous judge as well, and it just always stops, and that's a huge amount of money, I believe, for the citizens of Alice
Yeah.
to cover the cost. And it looks like council agrees that that's something that we need to address.
It should be fair.
Right.
No reason why it shouldn't.
Yep.
Plus, when it comes to, how much taxes we bring in compared to the lion's share
Right.
others do. It's
I
tough.
think what would be good, Michael, if we created a list of these joint things. I know there's a tax that the city gives to the county as well, the sales tax.
Oh, they get a portion of the sales tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these old agreements that have always concerned me that were developed, I don't know how or why or with what at the time, but I think it's time to revisit any dealings we have with the county. And not saying we're severing any relationships, but figuring out a win-win for both, for
Right.
county and city, and for it to be right for our citizens to pay for what they're truly getting and not for what others are getting, so.
If I may add to that,
Yes, sir.
the airport is another agreement that needs to be revised.
Yes, sir.
They're in agreement with that also, that it needs
Right.
to be looked at again. There's some issues there, I guess, gray area that it's subject to interpretation.
Right.
And it was done a certain way, but the last times we spoken to them, they said, I think it needs to just be revisited.
Yeah.
And at y'all's level.
I think that would be a good sector, just all county, and if we have to meet as a workshop to discuss the different options that council feels necessary to move forward. Okay, and I have a question on the unfunded grant specialist position, and then we transferred back salary from hotel motel fund to grant administration department. Were we sharing some money there with hotel motel funds for the grant department?
Yes, the grant specialist was managing the hotel occupancy tax
Oh, okay.
reports back and forth.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't a full salary that was attached to grant development.
Okay.
And so that's why that's moved. So it's not a full savings off the general fund.
Yeah,
It's like, I think it was an $18,000 difference on the general fund.
16 something,
Yeah.
16, and then
Yeah.
the 3,000.
Yeah.
But that's going back to finance.
Okay, okay. So finance was initially supposed to take care of it, and then we moved it to grants, and grants started taking care of
Yeah.
it? Okay,
And finance is gonna take that over.
okay.
So we are gonna put we're gonna discuss the library on as an
Agenda
agenda
item. Uh-huh.
on Tuesday.
If you like.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, council?
I have one.
Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead.
Ms. Bowen? I'm sorry, Pete, I'll get right to you.
Sorry. Can you explain that you moved 4 light equipment operators to street department? I mean, from the street department to parks department, what was the reason for that?
Yeah, so, yeah. We had moved everybody over at one time with the previous director. Everybody was under one umbrella. And it seems like now that we're separating a little bit of that, there was a request to move them back so they could be with parks together and kind of similar duties.
So we moved them over because they do all the mowing. And so they mow all the big areas here, ditches and, you know, things like that. So since they're mowing, and I have the parks crews mowing, if they need like help with weed eating and things like that in certain areas, they can all go out together and do that. So they target areas that are like with heavy brush.
Got it, okay.
So they can, yeah, they have the big tractors, and then you have the ones with the smaller ones, with the smaller equipment operators, and then you have the weed eating done in the areas that need to be done.
And this amount, what does it include? Their salary and what else?
Their yeah.
It's salary, FICA, TMRS.
All of that,
insurance,
okay.
and
Benefits.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Crisp?
Yeah, looking at the general fund in regards to the budget for 2020 right now, when will we be seeing a reduction of these revenues? Because we haven't made those adjustments yet in the forthcoming meeting, and then see it again on that budget, because we have to finalize the budget for 2020, and showing that is really a false positive right now.
Yeah, so we've talked about that from a staff level, and what we want to do is, we don't want to make a change here and process a change because we can't change the budget unless you guys get that done. So, we know what it'll be when we plug a number in, but we can't actually, in a sense, hit enter and process because you guys need to go ahead and amend the budget to reduce those revenues. And so we want to do that at our next meeting, to go ahead and officially take those off, and that's going to automatically just adjust the ending revenue over expenditures.
We have to do what?
Do we have
approve?
a number of a concept?
The amendment.
I mean, it's rough.
Budget
I know
amendment.
that it's still working.
To approve the
remove the-
revenues to get removed.
Yeah, you know, we've been, and for us, and so, for numbers wise, we're pulling the expenses out, and you guys were pulling the expenses out from February on as revenues were declining. We never adjusted the revenue side, but we knew we needed to get the expenses out. And now that
Right.
we have an idea that now we can go ahead and adjust, because we wanted to show that we were budgeting this amount, and it's
Right.
not coming in. And we're pretty close to, the end of the fiscal year, that now we'll go ahead and adjust it. And it won't make a difference on revenue over expenditures, because it looks higher now, like we talked about last time. Because we're showing that we have more additional revenue, and so our revenues over expenditures will go up as we cut expenses.
Right.
But now when we actually take those revenues out and readjust, then it's gonna get closer to the zero number.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Mr. Crisp?
And the reason I ask is because right now, not only does it affect that, but when we're looking at our budget and our proposed budget, we see our ending fund balance actually carries that number through to it for next year. So, it's one of those things where we look like we're gaining an ending fund balance that we're not actually holding on to. So yeah, I understand what you're doing, and I look forward to seeing that number in the next Tuesday's meeting.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions at this time? No? Okay, we can move on.
Is that Patrick?
Thank you, Leticia. Oh, you're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon, sir.
As you know, my name is Patrick Thomas. I'm the fire chief, and I oversee 4 different departments. So I have the fire department, proudly the administrator for the fire department. There's 35 employees in that department, including myself. And we've been working very diligently to lower, or to not lower, but increase our staffing levels and become a fully staffed organization, and in doing so, that's allowed us to be able to cut our budget this next year on our overtime. So we have minimum staffing levels that we have to maintain to be able to protect the city and maintain a certain level of protection for our city. And so increasing the staff level or filling all the vacant positions that were available was a priority this year. And that's kind of what we've been working on. The beginning of this fiscal year that we're getting ready to finish up with, we made it a priority to go out and recruit and get a good, solid group of firefighters to come in and work here. And we've done a great job. As a matter of fact, at our next council meeting, you'll have one of your agenda items will be a presentation of all the staff that we've hired. And if everything goes as planned, we will be fully staffed by your next council meeting. So we're looking forward to that. And I say we did a good job because we're one of the lower paid fire departments in the area. And that being said, we still had a waiting list of people wanting to come and work here. We were able to become fully staffed when other agencies nearby, such as Kingsville, Portland, Robstown, were still not able to become fully staffed yet. So we were able to beat them at that, even though they make more money. So that goes a lot to show about the type of staff you have working here. They're not always, and I know it always seems like it because of bargaining and things like that, but the guys that we have working here truly are here for the right reason. They're here to protect the citizens, and that goes miles. So that's the fire department. We also have the code enforcement department and the inspections department, and they're 2 different departments, but they're kind of grouped into one. And so we've been working very diligently to be able to maintain the services, maintain inspections through either on staff, hired staff and contract staff. So we've been working really hard to make sure that we're able to do that. As you know, we've got our school district has some major projects that have been happening here recently, and that's been tasking us very heavily because there's a lot of inspections, a lot of oversight that needs to go over that. So we've been working really hard with that, with those projects. And then, of course, luckily, houses are still being built. There's still people doing renovations. There's still a lot of permits that are being processed. We've actually, during this coronavirus situation, we're actually busier than we had been in a long time. So that's a good thing. That means people were, I guess people were staying home and were doing work. So they were doing the right thing and getting the permits to make it happen. But it did task our department, and we've been working really hard to keep up with that. And on top of that, we also have the emergency management department. Emergency management department, as you know, that department has its ups and downs. There are times where there are no disasters, there are no emergencies, and that budget can stay really low. And then there are times where disaster strikes, and we have no choice but to react and maintain operations. So that budget is there, and it's a kind of an unpredictable one because we really can't predict all the disasters that are going to happen. I wish we could. It would make my job a lot easier. The mayor's job a lot easier. We could predict some of that stuff, but unfortunately we can't. So as you do know, coronavirus is the latest disaster that we're in. Of course, recently we had the hurricane that we had to be prepared for. So that does take some spending in those budgets. And but we try our best to recoup some of that cost through grants and through different funding sources that come available. So we're working very hard to do that. Our grant department is on it. Our finance department's done a really good job of keeping that. It really is a team effort. As you guys know, that department's really a one, and well, here recently became a 2-person department with our public information position, but it's really just a one-person department, and it's an extra duty, so I do that on top of the other jobs that I have, and so it really takes a team effort. It's not just me in that department. There are other people in the city that do a lot of work to keep that department going, such as finance and grants. And of course, the city manager as well is very, very involved in that department as well. So that's where we're at on my 4 departments, and thank you.
Thank you. Any questions,
Yeah.
council? Mr. Burke?
May I?
Sir.
Patrick, I may not phrase this exactly the way it should be, but
Okay.
you can clarify it for me. In our code enforcement, how many code enforcement officers do we have right now?
We currently have 1 because one of them you just swore in as a police officer, so she
Yes.
transferred over from code
Okay.
to.
And my question is, do any of them, did they or do they now have the ability, the credentials, to cite, to write a ticket?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them did at the
Okay,
time,
and
and
they
currently
still-
we have 1, yes.
One can do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she can, so she has a there's an
Okay.
actual certification that you have to, a license you have to have
Okay,
in
wanted
order
to
to
make
work
sure.
as a code enforcement officer. So both code enforcement officers that we had that license. Currently, we're down to 1 code enforcement officer. We do have it posted, so we are looking for a second one to fill that position. It's a much needed position. It keeps me very busy. It keeps our staff down there very busy with code complaints and different situations that come up. But it is a license that they do carry. It's licensed through it's through Department of Licensing,
TDLR.
TDLR. They license them, so that's what gives them the ability to be able to cite for ordinance. Now, they do not give speeding tickets. They do not give citations for, a crime like a murder or something like that. It's different type of enforcement. It's specifically to codes and ordinances.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And you said the position's still available and it's open?
Correct.
And funded?
Yes.
So when are we going to post? Do you know?
It's already posted.
Oh,
It's
good.
posted.
Awesome.
It'll probably be open either another week or 2, depending on how many applications we get. And
Okay.
then we're going to review applications at the end of this week, and then we'll see if we need to
Oh, very
keep
good.
it open, do some recruiting, or if we have enough applications.
Great job, Patrick.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for staying on top of that.
Yes, it's something that can't go unfilled. We have a lot of work there, and so
I appreciate
we need to fill it as fast as we can. But we got to fill it with the right person as well, too.
That's right. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
so sorry, Mr. Molina. Mr. Burke, were you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Molina?
Yeah, just real quick, so this packet that we were given today, does that just include the changes?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, so, everything on here had changes, like, I guess your first summary page had some kind of change, right?
That's correct.
That's the summary page, so it'll reflect the changes. But then behind it are the actual departments or FTE changes, which are
Okay.
the full-time employee changes.
Okay, so,
The recap sheets will
And
be
the recap
reflected.
will kind of tell you where I made the changes.
okay. Now, in this front page, or the front summary, it basically has all the departments, right?
I'm sorry, what?
It has all the departments, whether they
Yes.
got changed or not, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what made it kind of confusing. Now, as far as the multi-use center, we're done with that, right?
We didn't make any changes to it, no.
Okay. But I guess let me back up a little bit. All the departments are on here, right, whether we're doing changes to them or not?
Yes.
Okay, so but the multi-use is not on here?
No, it's a separate fund. It has its own fund.
Since
That-
there weren't any changes to that one, it's not on the recap sheets.
Right, but I'm getting confused here, but you just told me like all the ones on here.
I'm sorry, I meant all the ones under the general fund.
Yeah, that,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
sorry, I'm
okay,
sorry.
okay.
All the
Okay, that makes
departments,
sense.
I was getting confused there.
I was getting confused too.
I'm sorry, all the departments under the general fund
Okay,
are in there.
thank you.
So
Now
you
that
won't-
cleared it up for me.
You won't see airport, you won't see golf, you won't see multi-use.
Golf course here.
Golf course will be later on. There was a change in there, but you'll see that,
But not on the
I was
front.
just really
recap sheet.
confused. I was trying to kind of make heads or tails of this.
Sorry.
But not on this front page, like you won't see those other funds. So you won't see golf here, you won't see multi-use here, you won't see airport
Right.
here. Those are the only other 3, no, there's,
There's solid waste, utility, airport, golf course, and the natatorium, or multi-use complex.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just-
it is a little,
Kind of scatterbrained there, apologize.
yeah, as you go further down the revisions, those summary sheets are gonna, this is a general fund summary sheet, but the airport, the golf course will have a revision to theirs also. And yeah, that's the one.
so the homework that
The
we
ones we're
had
talking about now.
is not
Sure.
this anymore.
Yeah, this one is 6A on your
But this whole packet, this is all different now.
No, that's current.
So why did we get this if we had the book?
Those are the revisions from last
So
time.
we need to replace those.
So these are different than the book?
Yeah.
That we took home?
Updated one.
Just so that our citizens can know that we're not doing our homework. No offense to anybody here, because I know y'all have been working very hard, but the book that we received last week is not what we received today, which is this. And that's why we're trying to figure this with this,
Yeah.
right?
Any
So,
changes that were
looks like
done-
maybe more time should have been taken to get it.
Any changes that were done from last time to this time? Like, for example, we had talked about the city clerk position, removing some of the election part of it. So that's gonna affect the whole city clerk position. That'll show up here, and then it'll show up on the detail sheet. And those sheets are new, but we labeled them with an A behind them, so that's the first revision. And so you just, when we do it here, I don't take out, like, the summary sheet for the general fund is 6A. I don't remove 6. I put a line through it so I know that this is the original one,
okay.
this is now 6. And if we, next week, if we bring another revision on some of these, then that'll be 6B on this sheet.
I wonder if we could have more time. Because, I mean, am I the only one? But I'm like, well, I really feel like I need to look at all of this because
I asked
it's
Odie
not what
before I
this
came,
is.
I'm like, hey, we didn't get a packet, what do I do? And I couldn't be here earlier.
Well, I
but-
just went by this guy, what we had last week.
But those numbers were wrong
But
last week.
Yeah, well, they had issues last week.
But the summary kind of
Summary.
summarizes all.
Yeah,
And it's just put it in there.
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
Do you have
Make
questions
our,
for
put our
Patrick?
revisions in there. swap them
There's
out.
right brain people and left brain people, and we're not always the same. So communication is key, and I like lead time. I'm just one of those nerdy kids that likes to do my homework. Forgive me, but I'm like, okay, no, I need to.
Maybe next time I can also put like the changes and then the page number, so this will be 6B, or, you know what I mean? And so that you'll know this, and this is where you'll see the change on this page too. Maybe that'll help too.
On this one?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
do
we
that.
can put that on the recap sheet.
That's fine.
Point to where it's gonna be, yeah.
A chart. I don't know. A picture. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Molina, did you?
No, that's all, thank you.
Ms. Bowen?
Yes, I do for Patrick. Not on this. Now, your staff downstairs, how many do you have down there?
I currently have one code, filled positions or allocated
positions.
filled positions. I have one code enforcement officer and 2 clerks.
2 clerks.
Yes.
And is it the code officer that goes out to, the neighborhoods and checks for, overgrown grass?
Yes.
So that one person, that's what they do?
That's what they do,
And
the
that's
entire city.
position that we're trying to
Yes, we're trying to,
get to?
a second position, correct.
Okay, because this is a big city.
They do have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you, that's what I needed.
Yeah, we need 4.
Good job.
I agree. I would like to see that.
Something
A
to point
larger
out though
department.
on that
If
is,
it's just for a year.
majority of the places that code goes is because called in complaints.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
That takes
Robert
a
has
lot.
a good point that's perfectly able to be
Yes.
discussed right now. He feels that we should possibly
Add to
budget
it.
more for this department in codes and inspections because we're obviously decades behind in a
Yes.
lot of these things and they're crumbling,
Mm-hmm.
literally. So if we even did something for a year to add to this department to rectify the many decades of neglect in this department, which I agree with Mr. Molina, even if we did it for a year and just said, you know what, we're gonna add to this budget, maybe pull from, and I don't know where, you guys have worked super hard on this and y'all are like, it's bones. But maybe that's something, it's not approved yet, so,
Yeah, that's what these are for, to talk about those
Right.
items, and if we feel like that's something the majority wants to do, then we'll find a way to
Ron, what do you think,
adjust.
Ron?
Well, I think,
And so we need a
Kind of play
our
catch
job
up,
to figure out how
and
to
falling behind a
how to
little
fit it
bit.
in there.
and he has a good point, even if it's for a year.
Yeah.
And we get caught up and going, yes, ma'am?
I just want to say that, because since I've been in Public Works Operations, that team downstairs has given us a lot of work. So if that department's going to grow, I just have to say that these other teams that work closely with codes also need to grow. Because the guys, his team was working very hard and we were getting, I don't know, about 8 to 10 lots a week to mow. At one point, we had like 42 lots.
Yeah, but we could probably do something different, like contract labor for things like that.
Yeah,
Where it
I
wouldn't
mean-
hinder, I see where you're coming from, where it wouldn't hinder our current departments because we can't expand all the
Right.
departments. There's no way. But we know the main problem is codes. We see it. It's
Yeah,
visible
yeah,
and it's
everywhere.
it's an eyesore for our city. And I've always said you can be poor, but you don't have to be dirty. At this point, we're dirty at times, and I think it's unacceptable. But we could look into something
Yeah,
contractish
you
we
know,
used
the
to.
Weedy lots that we do over and over and over and over, you know, that's something that probably ought to do, you know, we can do a request for proposals or a sealed bid, and see, you know, who wants to do it, you know, for a year contract and try to get the best price we can to get that done. And that's something that would probably, if, what happens, is that, you know, codes, the more they do, the more they're gonna give work to the light equipment operators. And
Yeah.
so, sometimes, you know, they'll have, what did y'all have, 18 the other day that needed to get
Yeah,
done?
we had about 18, but
Yeah.
at one point we had 42. But what we are doing, something else that we're doing, and Patrick's team came up with this idea. Now we have a spreadsheet, so we could see the repeat offenders.
That's
How many
right.
times we're mowing them.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have any tracking. So
Yep.
I'm a data person. I like to see trends, and so we're tracking that.
That's perfect.
So, yeah, go ahead, sir.
No,
Go ahead, sir.
I'm not real clear. How does all that work? Like, because I remember I would call Selena all the time because people would call me and they're like,
Right.
hey, a house over here, house over here. And I'm actually looking at that house and I'm seeing like 3 or 4 down the street that like, you know, need attention and, you know,
Right.
some housekeeping, whatever. So some of them didn't even have street signs. I'm over here trying to figure it out. But, you know, nonetheless, the lots were kind of, you know, kind of let go. And so I would call in, but then, like, what happens from there, just so that everybody can know, like, how much work this is? Because I didn't know that, you know, we were having this much.
So one of the things that we've been working on, you know, really hard this past year is software management. We were doing things and we were, you broke the mic. So,
Talk too loud.
No, it's not the mic's fault.
our processes were a little dated, and so we sat down, you know, Leticia and myself, even the finance department was involved with this, with obtaining the software for us to make it happen. And what we've done is we're trying to manage it a little bit better, be more proficient, to be able to get more work done and manage it better, basically. So that's kind of how it works now. We just started using this software. As a matter of fact, it's been maybe, a couple weeks since we've been live on the permit side. So it's taking a little bit of adjusting to do, but I believe it's going to help us tremendously. It's going to help us in the office and out in the field, because they're going to be able to look up cases from out in the field, those repeat offenders that we keep talking about. You know, we were still doing things where we were just making actually handwriting lists, and Leticia can tell you. We had actually
Tedious.
handwritten lists of cases that we were
So
working.
how does that work? What's the protocol? Y'all get it, y'all
We-
get the address,
Correct.
and then what goes on from there?
So if it's a weedy lot, we have to give them a certain amount of days to be able to remedy it. So we've
Like,
got to.
what goes on from there? Do we send out a letter? Do we go knock on the
Yes.
door? Do we?
Yeah, there's notice requirements. If we're gonna go mow somebody's property, we've got notice requirements, because we do put liens on people's property, mowing liens. And then they get recorded. So there's a process, a notification process for that. But back in probably 2005 or 6 is when the council decided to go ahead and allow to have the mowing liens, to add the mowing liens back then. And so there's a process and notification time, and then, you know, you have to send certified letter, make sure they get it to the property owner, and then there's steps. But one thing that we're looking at is on repeat offenders, do we have to do the same thing over and over or not? You know.
No, we don't. There are ways to get around that process and kind of shorten that process. There's still a process we have to follow. There's still notifications that have to happen, but we can shorten that process up on repeat offenders. So we're looking at those processes, and we're actually looking at updating some of those ordinances as well. That in Leticia's earlier presentation, she mentioned that we were looking at processes and procedures and ordinances. Some of those are going to take some ordinance changes, and so we're looking at ways to do that.
Right.
We're reaching out to other cities that have kind of been at the forefront of some of these issues. And trying to using them as examples of how other cities are doing it as well. We did bring on Dina She brings some experience from other cities up north where she's worked, so that's going to be an asset for us as well. So we're looking at updating and trying to streamline some of these processes. And she's right, there's a lot of them that are repeat offenders that we've known the repeat offenders. We're just, we've got to be able to get them better, get them to start maintaining their own properties. We maintain a lot of properties for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, and so I'm back on the process of, we get a notification, Weedy Lot, for example, and so we have to go over there and look at it, then we have to come back, find out who the property owner is, send them a letter, and a certified letter. We have to wait so many days before we can take any action to it. Then if nothing happens by then it's gonna go from codes to, what was streets, now it's gonna be parks. And then they're gonna put on their list to go mow.
Right.
And so it's kind of an over and over, but that's usually how it happens. And so it's not gonna, if there's a weedy lot that's somebody new, it's not gonna get cut right away. It's gonna, you gotta follow the posting notification, timelines.
The other problem with this stuff is, so my guys go out and mow, and then people go and dump. And so we have
Yes.
tires, we have,
Spend more
mattresses,
time.
things like that. And sometimes all the grass grows over that. So when they call, the citizen calls that, oh, this lot is a mess, my guys are trying to mow and their equipment's getting stuck because the grass is over
The
all
debris.
the tires, all, it's a mess.
We have a dumping issue.
Yes, we do have a
bad
dumping
one.
issue, and I'll be honest, a lot of our time goes into the weedy lot part of it. So
What's the ordinance on that, on the dumping of the?
illegal dumping, there's local ordinance and there's also state laws for illegal dumping as well. We just don't have anybody that really enforces
I
that.
know we have some very common ones that I would like to see if we can post signs with a $1,000 fine, or something this is enough. I mean, we're not a junkyard, and you go through too many streets in our city, in every side. I don't care what people say, it's not there, it's not in this side, it's everywhere, and that's unacceptable. It's down our main street.
Yeah.
And that's unacceptable. It's right there.
And my understanding is the landfill is open on Saturdays when
Right.
you can go do it. for
That's
free.
right.
So I don't understand why we have all the dumping going.
I
on.
understand, because there's no repercussions. Nothing happens. You can. So when people misbehave, it's because they can. So that's why I say that the fine is strict. It's enough. And Michael, we saw it.
Yeah, we drove by and saw the
Yeah.
places. We also have to catch them as they're illegal dumping, because
Right.
there's areas that people are gonna drop off.
Right.
Somebody's gonna own that empty lot, and that's not the person dumping.
That's right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I do know at one time we did have some staff that were dedicated to the illegal dumping part of it. We no longer have that. It's just kind of been absorbed with code enforcement, and there was some equipment, years when I first started as a fire marshal here. I know there was an abatement officer that was out, or code enforcement officer that was out with cameras that was, they were out doing investigations, trying to catch some of these illegal dumping situations. And we don't have that type of resource anymore, but,
What year was that, Patrick?
well, I started as a fire marshal in '06. I believe, it was in '06.
Not too long ago, to research how and how much, did we spend, and where did the equipment go to be able to?
Yeah.
Because that's what we need at this point. It's a weekly complaint for me, weekly, at least once or twice.
We'll definitely, I'll sit with the city manager and we'll kind of go over come up with some options that we might have to be able to try to get a little bit more aggressive on the code enforcement
They
side.
don't, y'all do need help, right, Michael?
Yeah.
So, we
Absolutely.
definitely need to beef up that department, and like I said, even if it's just a 1-year mission,
Yeah.
to say,
Catches
hey,
up.
let's try and catch
I
up.
agree
and, make up
100%.
some
Well,
time.
and some of the other things that we're tackling as well, and I'm probably going to overwhelm you, you're going to want to give me more people, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to justify it or anything anymore. You guys know I need help. I don't need to
Oh,
explain
yeah.
that to you, but
Right.
we're also looking at the substandard structures. Of course, the big one is
Gonna ask
the downtown
Obviously.
area. There are, but that's not the only area. You can drive around town. There's some houses that have burnt that need to be destroyed, and we are working on that. That's something that we, again, myself, we work really closely on a lot of these projects. Other city staff are involved in this as well, but we are looking at trying to get some of those buildings demolished and.
At one point, there was funds for things like that. I was told, I was told they exist, I was told they don't exist. So we can do some formal research. I believe Mr. Lemon knows some good
Yeah, and
information.
we have met with Mr. Lemon. We are talking about bringing back some of those projects that were done
That's, yeah.
years and years ago. So we're working on that. But again, some of that is going to take some manpower to make
Sure.
happen. There is a lot of paperwork, a lot of research that's taken in. There's notifications that need to go out, things like that. So we do, the illegal dumping when possible. The weedy lots, of course. We also do the substandard structures, and then we also have the health department or the health
Right.
inspections that we're responsible
Food
for
and
too.
all that, mhm.
So all your restaurants, all your food trucks, all of your
It's 2 people.
daycares, and and so.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even talking about the weeded lots, I was talking
Yeah,
about like
they get it
dilapidated
all.
structures
The
just been
the
sitting
structures
there
ended up.
abandoned.
It's all, there is a
all-
lot
it
of.
all-
They're like fire hazards for the neighbors,
Sure.
really,
And public safety, just like downtown. This is a
Yeah,
public
exactly.
safety issue. To me, it's an emergency. I truly see it as an emergency, that we need to do this and do it now before somebody gets hurt.
We'll talk with the city manager to come up with some options and try to find some ways to.
We started the process already on the properties where somebody agrees that, hey, take it away, fix it, tear it down, something, and we put a lien on it. And that's what we used to do back when we had Project Phoenix going on.
Why did we stop?
2011 and 12. We
That
were
was
just-
before me. I don't know.
Do we know why we stopped Project Phoenix?
Change of administration.
Michael quit.
Probably funds. Most likely it was funds. I don't know, but it wasn't happening when I came in. So, but definitely it's something we were looking at doing. We like Michael, so we're moving on that direction. We've already got some of those forms updated and ready to move. We're just right now we're working through the cost of what it's going to cost us to dispose of some of that stuff. So,
Now, there's one residential home in particular that we've been working with. Talked to the homeowner already. Homeowner agreed. If you guys will help, demolish this or do something, you can put a lien on my property. If it sells, then we get when it sells, we can get reimbursed for it. That's how the Project Phoenix worked. There's also a little bit of grants on some that we can get some help with that Patrick and I have talked about and working on. So
yeah, we're exploring them.
Mayor, may I interrupt? I mean, everybody's
John.
talking about.
Just the man that I'd like to
That's-
speak to.
yeah.
There you go, John, you have the floor.
he was in those conversations.
He was in all of those projects.
That it was over 20 houses that we were able to demolish by an agreement, as Michael said, with the property owners. I believe Patrick was a fireman at the time, so he wouldn't have had any knowledge necessarily of what was going on.
They're learning how to use a fire truck.
Washington.
But we were able to do that, and we can set the program up. The easiest way to do it is based upon agreement, and then we just lien the property if it's ever sold. And so
Okay.
that's how we recovered our funds for those types of situations.
So it's not a
Yes,
grantable thing, or is it? How
I'm
is
sorry,
it?
Mayor, I couldn't hear
Is it a grant that we would get to demolish? Because I know demolishing
No,
is
no,
expensive.
What we did is and as far as grant funding that might have came in, we did speak with the Army Corps of Engineers on a few pieces of property because of being used for crime, and that's still an option that's available to us. But we just have to sit down with the Corps and see if they will do it. In this situation, we used city staff to go in and demolish the properties and to remove debris.
So we need more staff with no budget.
Well, we also have some contract companies that we've talked to. We're just here recently had to demolish some stuff, so we're working on. There are other options that we can do to
Okay.
maybe not have to use city staff, or if we do have to use city staff. But that's where we're working. That's at we're at that point right now to figuring out how we're going to get some of this stuff demolished. But after speaking with John and working with the team, we've actually come up. We found that it was pretty well receptive from the we were kind of nervous on how it was how the homeowner was gonna react
Yeah.
to, hey, we need you to tear your property down. But it was actually
Yeah, a help for
they
them,
needed
probably.
they welcomed it.
Sure.
There was an option for them, because right now some people just don't have that option to
That's
be able
right.
to pay up front and do that. And so us working with them to make it happen, it kind of gets some of these substandard structures demolished and
And it makes our
cleaned up.
property more marketable than
Yes.
this dilapidated thing that everybody just turns a blind eye, and it's time to clean up.
Maybe Michael can mention it to that contractor for the Rialto.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we were looking at also is getting, for a standard, let's say a pier and beam home, 12 to 1,600 square feet. What can you do, you know, give us a sealed bid
Yeah.
price for that. And then, you know, different tiers of that, because they do it all the time.
That's great,
And-
Michael.
And we have some estimates of what it would cost, and so for us, you know, it's our staff to go out there. Some of these structure, pier and beam, aren't too difficult.
Yeah.
You know, if you got a slab, then you gotta worry about, do we take the slab off, do we not? Those kind of things, but, you know, especially just getting a building that is a fire hazard, is a safety hazard.
It is.
Um,
It invites
Oh,
crime.
we have really good staff that could probably do it, but some of these people do this daily, and, you know,
right.
when you hire somebody that, you know, that does that more frequently, it sometimes might be a little faster. They have the means to
More
do it,
efficient.
the right equipment to do it, things like that, yeah.
Very good. It sounds like a priority to me.
Does Pete have anything
I have a
to say?
question, though.
Mr.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
Mr. Crisp, did you already go? Or Mr. Crisp, did you have? Mr. Crisp?
Well, let me just ask.
No, not at this time, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bowen.
Sorry, Pete. Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on the liens. How long do we have to, I mean, how long does the owners have liens on their property? I mean, is there a limit time, or is it
I don't think there's a
just-
limit, but John could probably answer that.
Yeah,
on-
that's
Just till they
illegal.
sell the property? I mean, it could be forever?
Those are not foreclosable liens, correct, John?
They're there as long as the property is owned by that property owner. If they try to sell it or
Right.
transfer it, then we can collect on the lien. A lot of these properties, we could go ahead and try to enforce the lien and with lawsuits, but it's just an expense. And so normally what we do is we wait, because a lot of these people with these properties, they don't pay their taxes. And that when it goes through a tax foreclosure suit, what has started occurring is we're starting to collect on these liens if we give the taxing authority notice that the lien is there. And I know that's something Patrick has been working on before Patrick became the codes enforcement director. It was something that we had continued to talk about, but you know what? We just couldn't seem to get it to work. But to answer your question, they stay there foreseeably forever.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, council, for Mr. Fire Chief Patrick Thomas?
Mr. Crisp, did you?
He said no.
Oh.
Well, if there are no other questions, I just want to close with thanking you for the support. I also want to let you guys know that tomorrow morning I was supposed to go today to pick up those fire trucks, but we had this and this was really important, so I decided to stay in town for this.
Thank
But
you.
tomorrow morning I'll be driving up to go pick up the 2 fire trucks.
Awesome.
And we also have some training this weekend on the 2 trucks, so we'll have all of our firefighters coming in and out, you know, getting some training. You'll see them around town. You'll see them at some of the buildings, you know, raising up the ladder, you know, things like that. So
Champagne bottle ready.
I
Champagne
know,
ready to-
that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
ready to climb
not
up
quite
there?
there. That's in the works, but right now we're just getting it here so we can start getting working through some of that training and learning how to use the equipment so we can put it in service. It's badly needed, and so we're excited about that.
That's great.
And then just wanted to close with that. And then we also have testing tomorrow morning.
Patrick,
So,
thank you for
yes.
being an exceptional employee for the city of Dallas and the time and devotion that you give and the short time that we've worked together on this emergency. It's been a pleasure, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
I've worked
You're a
with
good guy.
others, and
Good
you're
day.
doing fabulous. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. Chief Davis, you want to come up?
Oh, hose draggers, you gotta love them.
Right.
Mayor and council, they've kind of already gone over the changes that
Yes, sir.
I've asked for in the budget. And my goal is trying to get us right-sized where we can take care of the things that we need to do. You know, they're not always directly affect the field operations, but to that end, as far as field operations go, I've repeated myself numerous times, is we've got to get some staffing. And we're continuing to look for ways to make that happen. And our newest way is to resurrect what they called here was the cadet program. And that's basically where we go and hire somebody off the street, and we pay them a salary to send them to the academy. Otherwise, we're dependent on someone that has either put themselves to the academy or is coming from someplace else, or that we might sponsor somebody, and when they get out, they may or may not come with us. So the advantage to this is for, and as the Vanessa showed you, was we will pay these people a smaller salary when they come on. And hopefully we'll be able to actually bring them on a month or so, a few weeks before the academy actually starts. Why would we want to do that? Well, we want to make sure that they're going to get through the academy. So we will be bringing them in, we will be giving them assignments, we'll be testing them on them, and we'll have a pretty good idea whether they have the ability to get through the academy academically. We'll also be working with them. Not everybody is born to shoot, and for some people, that's a real problem in the academy. So we're going to try and get those two things that, you know, usually will get you let go from an academy out of the way. And obviously, if we have someone that we bring in and they're not able to pass our test that we're giving them, then we're not going to pay them for 3 months to go to the police academy and flunk out. So those are our, hopefully it's going to provide us with some staffing over the next few months, because not very many people in this area, from what I understand, offer this type of program. So we're real hopeful that we're going to get some people that would have liked to have been a police officer, but they just, quite frankly, can't afford not to work. So we'll see where that goes. I had been here about a week, and I was asked by the manager's office, okay, what can you cut for next year? And it's like, well,
Nothing?
that was my initial thought, but we did find, I looked at our overtime, and it was like $250,000 for a department of our size. I thought that was excessive. I probably could have made a better judgment now than I did then, but I think we're going to get our staffing taken care of. So we did cut $50,000 out of the overtime budget.
Good.
So we should be able to manage it for
Nice.
next year. So are there any questions or anything that I can
Mr.
answer
Burke?
for you? Yeah, okay.
Mr. Molina?
I just had a quick general, probably dumb question. How long does that academy last?
16 weeks, I believe.
16, okay.
So then, you know, you've got about another 6 months on training generally.
And what's the minimum requirements for somebody like to be a candidate for your program?
High school degree and clear background.
Got it.
You know, we ask that they, well, yeah, that's pretty much it, is, you know, good character. We do a thorough background on them before
Sure.
we bring them on and that sort of thing.
Ms. Bowen?
You mentioned testing on shooting.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that include driving as well?
The academy's supposed to drive, and hopefully they'll be able to,
Okay.
you know, at least in this part of the country, we don't have a problem like other places that where you get a recruit from, say, New York City, where they've never driven, and you're literally having to teach them how to drive a car. So people here pretty well
Yeah.
know how to drive, but it's a pursuit driving course.
Well, I'm just thinking pursuit driving,
Right,
yeah,
right.
definitely. Good deal. Well, I'm glad to hear about the academy, the cadet program. You know, I mentioned that to you before, that I thought that would be great.
Right, well, thank you.
Good job on that. Good job.
Well, we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
You know, I have lots of
bring
good
that up.
ideas, not all of them work out, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Mr.
exactly.
Chris?
Yeah, going back to that same situation, is there are there age restrictions on that? I want to know. I want to say that the city set some, but you know, since there are people watching and this is going to be out there, are there age restrictions on for that as well?
21. You need to be
21.
too.
Low side, high side?
You know, I'm kind of on that high side. And I say, you can pass the test, you know, more power to you. So, I have seen, and I've never hired one, but I did see a department in the Metroplex that brought on a 64-year-old. And, he was in good shape, and, you know, as far as I know, he's still there.
Okay, let me interject, is that yes, is that the restriction's there, but the association can always vote to allow an older applicant in, but it's gonna have to come from a vote through our collective bargaining agreement.
Okay.
So it is an option presently, however, the association has to vote to allow it over the age limit.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is just so that the idea that there's opportunity out there. That opportunity is out there for a wide range of people, so that's great. But aside from that, I have no further questions. Thank you.
So Chief, for our police officers, total with cadets would be 22 budgeted positions, right?
Yes, ma'am, and there again, that doesn't include our corporals.
Right. Just boots on the ground, so to speak.
Should be around 22.
Very good. Well, I'm thanking you for that out-of-the-box ideal to bring in, you know, a cadet that could save us money, but yet give us people.
Well, and I took credit for it. I'm sure somebody suggested it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Okay.
it just sounds like a good idea.
You're doing the work. It's all good.
We'll see what happens.
I have two more quick questions.
Yes, sir.
Let's say a potential candidate comes forth and they want to, you know, put in for this program. Who do they talk to? Can they do it online? Do they need to talk to you in person? Is there an application, or how does that?
No, what we'll do is we'll put it out on Facebook, and, you know, we haven't come up with a recruiting model per se, but most people today get their information from Facebook and word of mouth. And we've already had a fair amount of interest just in the, because we've been talking about it. So that'll be the main method, put that out there through the internet, Facebook type thing.
And the other question I had, Chief, is as far as, and kind of it's to Michael as well, as far as police vehicles, how do you feel we're equipped on that end? And I think we had that lease thing going as well.
Don't ask him that.
Yeah, don't ask them that. Last time you said we needed more vehicles, I'm like, we
We just bought some.
Well, I want to know where we're at, because, you know, we talk a lot, but we go off and do our thing, and then, you know, you guys take care of
Yeah.
business. So
Well,
I know we had this lease agreement that was going to take place, and we kind of locked up a little bit on trying to kind of make sure everybody got their share. But, so where are we at on that? Or
Well, right now, everybody has their own vehicle, correct, Chief?
We have enough vehicles.
Yes, for
Okay.
everyone that, we were sharing before, and that's why we went ahead and did the lease agreement to bring 4 Tahoes in.
Right.
They came in,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but there were some that were like really outdated, and
Yeah.
and that's why I was just making sure he's got enough.
Are those part of the auction?
That's what he needs.
But we will have a very sizable contribution of
Good.
vehicles to
Good.
the auction.
That's all I'm checking
Great.
up on. My job's to give you the tools, you know.
They have been cleaned?
They have.
Cleaner than usual? Okay,
Cleaner than
well, I
usual.
thought they were always just like that. So,
No, I've noticed.
good, good. Glad to
Thank you,
hear that.
Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you and your hard work, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Ms. Bueno?
So this time last year, who would have thought we would have been using words like bubble,
Yeah.
face covering, and
Right.
COVID? So what I'm going to talk about is a little bit of our modified COVID operations. I've been working with Leticia and Roland. So what I have is, I have a pod, I'm calling it a pod, that consists of employees from the UB, recreation, golf course, and library, that staff. And within that pod, I have made 5 bubbles. 1 library bubble, 2 golf course bubbles, and 2 UB bubbles. So at the golf course, we have 2 clerks, so that's 2 different bubbles, so we don't want them kind of to go in with each other. So we don't schedule them together, and they work 3 days in a row, and then they sanitize between their shifts for the next person. And we are going to start rotating them in the lobby at the white table. So in the UB department, we have 2 bubbles consisting of 5 people, 3 UB staff and 2 rec and library staff. So each bubble has a rotating schedule that allows us to stay open a little bit longer, and also on Saturdays. So we've been doing this on August the 1st, and it is a working document that will be tweaked and modified as we go along and as we end these operations, hopefully within, next spring. We do different things during due dates and holidays and vacation times. again, we just started, so there'll be a lot of modifications on that. So at the library, we have a one-person bubble, and she is being helped by a graduate student volunteer, Rosalia Garcia. I don't know if y'all might know her. And the two other employees from the library are each in a UV bubble. So computers are used by appointment only, and after each session, they sanitize and wipe down and spray and everything else in between. The books are delivered curbside, and when you return your books, you put them in the drop box, and when we bring those in, we spread them out and sanitize them before they're reshelved. And the programming is done virtual on Facebook. I don't know if you guys have seen Janine Bertuca on there. We do have 835 followers and 825 likes on our Facebook page. Okay, so yesterday we were informed by the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. We applied for a grant. They got some federal funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. So we got a grant for $9,300 to replace the computers in the children's area. And again, Janine Bertuca and Ms. Reeves worked on this grant for us. So within the 5 bubbles, of course, we do intermingle occasionally, but we try our best to limit close contact, and we follow the CDC recommendations as much as possible. So about 2 years ago, I started a cross-training between library and rec, and several of us have worked in different departments within the city, and some of us have experience in other fields from previous jobs. So in the case, if the city would ever have like a huge emergency, we have one person that could possibly help in dispatch, one person that could help in IT, one person that could help in maintenance and construction, 2 people that can help with health inspections, 2 people that can help with code compliance, and we've also trained 1 person to work at the garage, 3 additional people to work at the golf course, 3 additional people that could work in second floor, 1 person that can work in the landfill, 3 other people that can work at the library, and we have 2 CPOs on staff, which are the certified pool operators. That's it.
Yeah,
Any
so,
questions?
you know, it's interesting, you know, we have the Parks and Recreation and Golf Course, and Yolanda's been really good about being kind of a pinch hitter for all the other departments, or, you know, a rover at times. And so we've had the library people come in and help, you know, administration, help in utility billing, Parks and Rec helping garage. There's a lot of things that go on in the cross-training field also. So if something happens, resignation, quit or something, we want to have somebody be able to fill in. And so there's a lot of things. It's not just the library and parks that they're touching. You know, she's touching utility billing now, and also administration and things like that. So it's a really good dynamic. It's been working well to get people to understand kind of the different areas. And the fill-in is when it's needed. It really comes in handy for us.
Nice. Mr. Crisp, any questions?
No. Well, I guess the question is right now with the curbside and the scheduled usage, are we actually being utilized? Because if this is the world we're living in right now, are we spending our money in the right direction for the time being in regards to the curbside, the scheduled computer use, the sanitation, and so forth and so on? Are we actually getting utilization out of those?
We are getting utilization, probably about a little bit less than half of what we used to, and that's just people staying home. But we do have people coming in, making appointments to use the computer and to pick up books.
But I guess what I'm looking for is some kind of an actual number, because you could say half, and half of 100 people is 50 people, or half of 20 people is only 10, or half of that's 5. So an actual count gives us an idea of utilization.
I do have a document that I can send to you. It's a week by week.
Good job. Okay, Mr. Crisp, anything else?
Okay, yeah, I'd really like to see that. I was hoping to see something about those numbers, because those are the numbers that make a difference when it comes to spending this money. So thank you.
I will go downstairs and email that to you.
Ms. Bowen?
Congratulations on the grant. Good job on that, those girls. I know when I've gone into the library, you all have a counter of who goes in and out and stuff like that.
Is that the kind of information that you, okay, good deal. I think that's it. Thank you very much for all you do.
Mr. Molina?
No questions at this time. We're gonna bring up the library in our
Right, that's
our
what I
next
was-
meeting, right? The agenda item? Okay, yeah, we can have more time to talk about that.
And just to be clear, some of the things that we look at on the cross-training side, that we're using library staff to do that. And so it's not, if we need to utilize them somewhere else, and I know right now utility billing is kind of a focus, and separating them as well, so they do a lot of fill-in, because we're planning if we do need to utilize them and the library's hours are gonna stay limited, you know, if, we certainly aren't gonna have people that we don't need, but if we have a need in another department, we'll have somebody that'll be cross-trained as well.
Yeah, no, I want to applaud
I will-
Yolanda for her effort. She's a wonderful person and got a great attitude, and she's a great resource. And I know it's a lot of work she's got going on right now, wearing a lot of hats. You know, I've seen her in a lot of departments. But the whole time, it's just, when this time comes, we're just trying to tighten down and like I said, make room for other things, and appreciate your accommodation, Yolanda. That's all. Thank you.
I will add to that including Yolanda, especially Yolanda and her staff, they're very good at helping other departments, and what they've done in UB is tremendous.
And her staff as well. I didn't mean to leave them out, but I just,
Yeah.
she's the spokesperson, I guess. So.
Yes, they're a smart group. They
Thank you,
catch on
Roland.
very quickly. They have good customer service skills as well.
Awesome. Mr. Burke?
Yeah, question. It kind of goes along with what Pete's saying, and a question about our perception of what a library is, as we, like in this situation with the pandemic, and also the future. What do the numbers look like as far as the utilization of books? Has that decreased a lot? And are people moving away from that into other facets of the library?
It has, sadly, yes, but we do have, what we do is we try to keep logs for
Mhm.
readers, and we'll let them know what they take, and when new books come in, we try to contact them, and the authors they like and stuff like that. But I want to say, and I will send that to you as well. Circulation is on there, that we circulated 350 books last week, and maybe the week before 202, and a year ago 650 maybe.
Yeah.
I know.
And even like newspapers, magazines that people are getting away from, yeah.
We do have them though.
Because of
And we
the
do have
computers
the
and-
regulars.
yeah.
That come in to read magazines and the newspapers as well.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr.
Just
Burke,
a-
anything else? You're good?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to reference Mr. Molina and Ms. Bowen. Y'all asked about the library, that you have more questions, but are asking it to be on an agenda item. Mr. Esparza, you're saying yes, so I thought this was the time to ask.
Well, no, you're talking about to have an agreement in place, and you're talking about the library to bring it up as far as how we're gonna manage a contribution from the county or things like that?
Well, I'd like it pretty broad, you know, because kind of like touching on what Councilmember Burke just brought up, you know.
This is the time to,
Like
because we're
maybe-
discussing the budget for the
I'm
library.
talking about like how efficient is that operation, you know, with 300-some thousand that we're spending, and, you know, the demand or the need for, you know, the actual hardback, you know, physical books and stuff. Maybe a more modern electronic library is kind of in the future, you know, where there's a kiosk and there's just somebody, you know what I mean? I'm just talking about
No,
the
you're
big
true to- you're true to
$300,000
point.
number.
And this is the time to discuss, because if budget needs to be changed to fulfill what this council feels is necessary at this time, then this is the time to discuss it freely. I mean, you're in the right. There's no need to move it. This is the
Okay.
time. It's
Well,
our budget.
I mean, that's.
Because that would dramatically change how you guys feel, you know, and the numbers in this budget. Just the county input will be
Well,
totally different.
to be honest, again, we asked for information that she's going to be getting to us, and to go through and try to say that we want to set something right now. Well, we want to set the goal of trying to get the county involved also,
Right.
and then we have to be realistic thereafter. You know, and if the county comes to us and we start moving towards, you know, a virtual or a digital library, that's one thing that we need to look at and see the concept of that versus, like you said, these hard paperback or hardback books that are magazines or newspapers that people are doing. But, you know, we live in a digital society now, and maybe that's a direction that this library needs to move into. But it's hard to set that without saying, hey, what are those numbers that she's going to be emailing us, and what can we do with the county? What should we even look at? Now, if the county comes back and it puts it back at the $100,000 range, which is where, you know, the multi-use lives, where the golf course lives, where, you know, some of these other places live, then it's a lot easier to decide to continue to move forward with it. But if they don't, we really need to evaluate where we go.
And I
Well,
feel.
and the decision is not to make a decision right now, Mr. Crisp. It's to express what the council is thinking. Each of you are thinking, all of us are thinking. And then that way we have those answers. There's no need to wait. I mean, staff needs some kind of homework to be able to come back with answers. And this is what this time is for, to bring up your concerns, to bring up, you know, the issues like Mr. Molina is saying, like Ms. Bowen, I know she had, because she said the last meeting that we would discuss at this meeting. So these are just, it's not time for discussion as to what is the future of it, but what are the concerns, budgetary concerns for the library?
Well, it's kind of a two-part, you know. One is, you know, the introduction was, well, the county's not helping us. And
Right.
they had some agreement that some.
And Mr. Esparza, have they, in the last, how many years, when's the last time we had a
Last time you
payment?
got a check.
I believe,
Lester?
no, well, I believe it was February, around that time, but their checks would come in like clockwork.
Right.
I think it was around February was the last check.
And
But
the
I've-
amount of the check was?
The check was about 4,000. They pay us the 50,000 a year, so I think it was like 4,166 a month that we would get a check.
So we're looking at 50,000 a year if they would commit to, so that's not hard math to do. I mean, to figure this is 50,000 that they were giving. I doubt that they would increase at this time, but maybe. But that's a
Well,
ballpark number to go ahead and.
If there's, did you say there was an agreement? I don't know, what does that mean? A contract, or what is, I mean?
It's an old agreement in place.
An
and
agreement's
it's
an
all
agreement. I
operation
mean, they owe
cooperation.
us. Sorry, county.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Mark.
But I think at the end of the day, I'm sorry. But I think at the end of the day, it is our library and and I think that we need to take ownership of it, and we need to kind of see you know, kind of recognize the writing on the wall, and that, you know, it's an evolving generation, and, you know, to use our money a little more wisely, and if especially given these times, you know, and if, like I said, it's just, I've always wanted to entertain it, like I said, in an electronic atmosphere, so to speak, you know, where it's not so.
A large.
And then given this virtual kind of atmosphere now with the pandemic, you know, it's even it's kind of brought a lot of things up to light, you know.
Maybe minimize the footprint of the physical being.
Sure.
I think you bring up good points. At this time, I'm going to ask to do a short recess because we have to do our public hearing in 4 minutes. So we're going to have you come back, Miss Yolanda, just so that we can continue, because this is good discussion that I feel should be discussed on budgetary terms at this time, so that those terms can be brought to light, because maybe it's something we don't understand, you know, and that she can shed light on it. And I would like to have her, you know, give us the intel. But Mr. Molina, you bring up some great futuristic concerns that's what we should do. And Ms. Bowen, I know you had concerns, you expressed that at the last meeting.
Yes.
That you did have library concerns, so I feel like there's no time like the present. So the time is 4:27. We're gonna take a brief break, and then we'll start our public hearing in just a second. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. The time is 4:34. We're back in session. And at this time, we're going to jump over to agenda item number 5 and then come back to agenda item number 4. So agenda item number 5, conduct a public hearing on fiscal year 2020-2021 proposed budget. The time is now 4:34 and the public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on the budget is more than welcome to present themselves or come forward. We can see if somebody wants to come online, right? IT? Sandra, can you ask them if they can see if? Okay.
There's no public attendees in Zoom.
No public attendees.
No one in Zoom right now.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak on agenda item 4? Budget 2020-2021 budget for the city of Alice? Okay, the time is now 4:36. This public hearing is now closed. Going back to agenda item 4, review and discussion of the 2019-2020 fiscal year revised City of Alice budget and 2020-2021 fiscal year proposed City of Alice proposed budget. And we'll continue where we left off. Ms. Bueno, if you'll please come forward. So council, we're just discussing any budgetary concerns with the public library? Any future thoughts for moving forward for the next fiscal year that could possibly save the city of Alice funds? Thanks. And I believe Mr. Molina had the floor. He had some good ideas.
Yolanda, did you email it to Pete? Yes. Oh, you did. You did.
Yes, I have it.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn.
Do you want to go through this with us, and that way we could? Okay. Mr. Crisp, do you have it?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So this is the 2020 log, starting with number of visitors, new cards issued, the number of books circulated, and computers checked out. If you look at the beginning of the year before we shut down on March the 20th, I have a note there that we closed the Wednesday of that week.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Real quick, can you explain what that means? Computers checked out and books circulated.
Okay.
Obviously, we understand what the visitors are, that's somebody who comes in, but can you explain what each one of those actually is?
Sure. So the number of books circulated is the number of books that are going out to people. They come in, they get the books from the shelves, and they check them out. And that's the books, they check them out for 2 weeks at a time. So that's just the books going out, not the books coming in. So the number of computers checked out, and it's written that way because they also check out the computers with their card, but it's a computer station at the library.
So they're utilizing the computers at the library?
Yes, for internet, for job applications, for homework, to print out.
They do all kinds of stuff with that.
Yes, they print out receipts, they print out their paychecks, taxes. People go in there and do their simple taxes, and when it's tax time, apply for food stamps.
And this is just another quick question. Do they, anything they print, or do they pay for that too? For the
Yes,
sheet?
sir. It's a small fee for printing. It's 25 cents for black and white and 50 cents for colored.
So on the chart, May 8th, the cross line 215 number of books circulated, Ms. Bueno?
That's when we came back.
And that's for the week, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's weekly. The numbers we see are,
Yes.
are weekly.
If you see, they kind of start going up for the summer, and then when we have the second wave or the COVID numbers going up, you can see the circulation kind of coming down. And then the numbers going down on July 10th, it's because that's when we started appointments and curbside.
This is very informative. I thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Because sometimes we don't realize how much something is utilized if we don't utilize it ourselves. So oftentimes we don't see that other people's need is not always our need. So this is excellent.
When I first started
excellent.
working at the library, you know, you just assume that everybody's walking around with the smartphone.
Right.
And that's not the case at all.
Right. This is good information. Council, any questions? Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina? You want me to come back?
Sure, yeah, you can come back to me.
Ms. Bowen?
I was gonna say, come back to me.
Okay, Mr. Crisp?
You know, I would say that these numbers are higher than I really thought they were, to be perfectly honest. Again, like the mayor said, if you don't necessarily utilize it yourself, you don't know how much is going on there. But during this time, we're not letting people, people are coming in to check in to the computers, but how do we still have such high number of guests if it's not necessarily open and it's curbside, or is it actually open where they can go in?
You just have to make an appointment to come in, yes, sir. To make copies,
Utilize the computer.
to utilize the computer. It's
Anytime you walk in,
Yes.
you're counted as a visitor.
Or the typewriter.
Mhm.
Good luck.
So typewriter, computer, check out a book, get a card, make a copy.
copies. We have a lot of people just can make one copy.
So it's got, it's got more foot traffic than I could have imagined as well.
Cut out, I'm sorry. You know, this is something that we need to review. Now, would it be something that we need to look at, maybe thinking of reduced days moving forward, at least during this time, to save some money while we can? I mean, if they're making appointments and checking out, I don't know. But is that something that would be feasible?
Yes, sir.
We practiced with that as well. We did that, when was that, Ms. Bueno? When we cut the hours and we closed a couple days
In March.
no, we did it last year. I remember because
Yeah, I thought we did it last year too.
we had a lot of complaints because people were needing it. We did for the air condition, but it was actually a new schedule. I believe when Miss Diana was CM.
Was it with the Saturdays or something?
Yes.
Yeah, we did that last year on Saturday.
I know we did a schedule change with it where we did something different.
I think we stopped the Saturdays, right?
We had stopped Saturdays and started doing something like
I
not
think we
the
were
whole
closed half a day on Wednesdays to make up for the Saturday.
Right.
We do have a smaller staff than we had 5 years ago.
Right.
Where we had, as we were losing employees, we didn't fill those positions, and that was 1, 2, I think 4 positions.
How many other, I don't have my notebook here, my bad. How many positions do we have right now?
We have a reference librarian, a circulation clerk, and a receiving clerk,
Okay, so 3.
and myself.
Okay.
There's their moms.
Thank you.
Miss Bowen?
I noticed that when I was going through each line item, that the salary is the biggest chunk, of course. But like you said, you're utilizing your staff in other positions?
Yes,
And
right now we're operating the library with one person and the other one.
One person actually at the
Yes,
library?
yes.
Okay. And my biggest concern was actually the 30,000, dollar budget cut. I didn't know if that would be, if there could be more, somewhere either with the internet service, was pretty high, I think it was.
Okay, and on the internet, we do get a reimbursement from the E-rate.
Oh,
90% of that gets reimbursed. But
Good.
you don't see it on the budget because it's probably on another line item.
Oh, okay. But I noticed that was pretty high, so that's good to know. And of course, that $50,000 was in question too, so. But those were the
And what
main
was that for?
things.
The 50,000?
Was the.
The county.
Oh, gotcha.
agreement.
Oh.
Did you need to see the whole thing? You're good?
Yeah, we would have to adjust that. So, or Jim, if you're back there, the E-rate, you said was on 90%
I
reimbursement on
believe
that?
so, yes.
Where does that show up, Roland, on here?
That's
So-
right.
Right.
90% is reimbursed.
Right.
It's 80% from the state and 10% from the federal government or vice versa, something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good to
So it's
know.
less than $200 a month.
Right. Now, we book it in at 21,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then our software as well is,
That's
It's
always
pricey.
high.
it's always high.
And we already got notice that the E-rate, we're gonna get it for another year.
That's great. Okay.
To fix it. I don't know, I need to look at it.
Well, Mayor, I just don't know. I just don't know where we could. I'm
So
open for suggestions.
A lot of it is reimbursable too,
Yeah.
with grants for books and
Well, see, that's good to
computer.
know. I did not know that.
The year, or I think 2 years ago, we had a $10,000 book grant. But the grant that we just got for the computers and some programming for kids to be reading on there, that came from the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. You have to be an accredited library to apply for those grants. And at this moment, we are an accredited library.
Well, I love our library. And a lot of my friends and a lot of people, family I know, utilize the library, so. We gotta keep our heritage somehow, right? Those books and magazines.
So of the 284, 344, are we getting any of that reimbursed?
The what, sir?
The 284, 344 that we have budgeted, Yolanda,
For what?
for the library? That's our budget for the
Oh,
library.
okay, the.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't even, I
Well,
should.
for sure, 19,000 on the internet.
Yes.
What's that?
And 19,000 gets reimbursed off the internet alone.
Okay.
So line item, on the
So
55030,
So 265 is probably where we're at.
and then, are there any, what else are there that we get on here, Yolanda,
Did you get reimbursed?
yeah,
Did you need to see it?
That's it.
that's it?
We
It's the
do have the
19.
small grant
The
that we get
books.
for our summer reading program, but that's not really a reimbursement of anything. Usually the $500 item on community relations, usually that's why we don't use that because we have the grant to do Halloween and Easter and stuff like that. And then the other one is the grant for the computers, but that's not an actual expense. It's just something we're adding and enhancing.
Ms. Barbara, you have something to add?
Just going to add to what Yolanda said, for the summer reading program, the expenditures for that, usually we apply every year to the Coastal Bend Community Foundation for funds to purchase books and prizes for the summer reading program, and we've been very fortunate to receive funding just about every year. And so the summer reading program is more or less self-sufficient, as long as we can continue to be blessed in getting an award from the Coastal Bend Community Foundation for that. But it's not reimbursed, we get a check in September. So I don't know how that's
And then
shown.
I know I have
How can we show
conversation with
those?
Mr. Burke.
Like, is it, I'm so sorry.
It's a donation.
How can we, finance, how can we show that? 'Cause that's where y'all
Oh.
smarts come in.
We show the revenue,
It's on
and then on,
Can you tell us the
budget,
page,
it's-
Ms. Vanessa?
I don't see it.
let me check the revenue. On page 8, oh, it looks like we didn't budget for it. Do you see there's like grant revenue and it's supposed to be Coastal Bend, on page 8, under intergovernmental revenue? There's the last two, like grant revenue, Coastal Bend, and it should say Council of Governments, and then there was another one, grant revenue, was it Concher? Concher Library.
Okay.
We didn't budget for it, but we can, and you would show the revenue there, and then if you go back to page 82, like under purchase property, like she just talked about community relations, I don't know if you notice, like there's 100,77642, and then there's 100,77644. We try to separate it by the grant, so you can kind of show, we got this much money, and then we spent this much, and we kind of keep those, we try to keep those separated to track them.
But regardless, this is additional funds that come into the library fund.
Yes.
So it technically wouldn't take away from the budget that we're seeing in front of us.
No, it just enhances it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than the internet.
Right.
Okay.
So if we would add these, that number would be bigger.
Well, they would
go up.
kind of offset
Yeah.
each other, because you would see the revenue kind of paying for those expenses, or they should offset each other.
It nets out.
Yeah.
It'll net it out.
For instance.
So it would come down?
Well, no, it
Oh.
would just like zero
It's
out, like
added.
you're gonna show that revenue just to
Yeah.
pay for those expenses.
No, but in this case, it would, because it's only 90% reimbursement.
Right, that one would.
Oh, the E-rate
Yeah,
one,
that one
okay.
would, but not the
Mhm.
10,000.
And I'll look at the E-rate, maybe we missed that one, maybe we didn't budget, I mean, maybe we didn't reduce it like we should have.
The 9,300 that I just talked about, we're probably gonna have to add that to the budget, right? Because it's a reimbursable, grant.
The 9,300.
The one you just received, yeah. And we can add it.
Yeah, we'll have to add it, and then I guess in the revenues.
You'll show the revenue.
I'll put it in there.
So it'll just zero out.
Watch that.
Mhm.
Okay. We didn't have an addendum to the library, correct? An updated, no? Do y'all have the page handy for library?
Do we have more?
80, 80 is the function sheet.
Sandra, did you have it in front of me? The library,
Pardon?
what you were looking at?
What I was looking at? Oh, it was page 82, I believe was, and then of course the salaries are page 80. Starts with 80.
On the function sheets, let me just explain,
There
because
it
I
is.
know
Thank you.
sometimes they're confusing. So, all those positions are positions that were there at one time, or that we haven't actually, we just unfunded them. We didn't do away with them completely, so, like the,
It looks like we show 8 because they're counted, but they're unfunded. So the reality is, and we've talked about, we probably should figure out a way to fix it to
To
won't
change
show
it,
8,
yeah.
because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4 total, but it
Yeah.
shows 8, because there's 8 positions.
only
in
the
there
ones that
are-
have the salaries are the positions that are actually funded.
Okay, and we're still accounting for the slashes that aren't on this page?
No, so if there's no, if I didn't fund them, we didn't put any salary, so we're not
So
funding
y'all are just
those
talking about
positions.
taking out the title on the left, but no money?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're still at 157,491.
Yes, and that's what those 8 positions, that's how they used to operate, about 5 or 6 years ago.
Right.
We've been cutting that down.
Mm. But that's not the correct number. So are they funded or they're not funded?
So only, like on here, only the library recreation director is funded, only one reference librarian is funded, and 2, where I need a ruler, 2 clerks are funded.
But you're looking at the detail sheet, right, Mayor? You're looking at.
Oh, no, that's correct, 157,491.
Okay.
Dollar amount is
Mhm.
correct. It should
Oh,
only be 4
okay.
positions, though instead of the 8, it should only be 4.
Right.
That's what Michael's pointing out. But the 157, you're correct, it
That's
still, it
correct.
stays the same.
Since
you don't have your book, here's the lecture.
Awesome, thank you.
So Ms. Bowen, what you were saying was the core was salaries
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
and internet.
And I was going through each line item, and honestly, they're necessities, I mean,
Right.
to keep it going.
So the internet, 21,600. Have we shopped that?
Well, no, that's when it gets reimbursed.
19,000?
We get
I'll look at
reimbursed
that
$19,000.
because I probably can
It's
lower it.
Spectrum.
I probably missed that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we get an E-rate on that,
Yeah.
so it's, yeah, it's whatever, Jim, how does that exactly work? Whatever the cost is, it's just gonna get straight reimbursed, but that's a government rate to begin with, right? The 21 is that government rate, and then the E-rate is what gives us the discount, the reimbursement?
Right, and it's based on school lunch program in the area, I believe. And so they should have been only billing us for what we owe, billing the state the rest. And they did that for a while. And then the new year, they messed it up again. So they have to go back and change it. Because you have a choice of paying for it and getting reimbursed, or else just being billed for your part, which is what we prefer.
But Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we bid that out?
Yes.
We
Yes,
bid it out.
yes, we
Yeah, and Spectrum or somebody was the,
was the best
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Spectrum, Foremost, and AT&T was.
Yeah, because that increase can't be accurate. I mean, it's 2,253.24 from the previous year, from 2020, current year 19 to 20, right? Is what we're accounting for. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, finance.
No, you're talking about the 1920 year-to-date activity?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's what we've spent on the
Right.
books this year.
No, not
On the
books, the
internet.
internet.
the 21
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
include
booked on.
the reimbursement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll reflect that on the next one.
Okay.
Okay, so the 21.6 shouldn't be in there?
No.
It's not, it doesn't include the reimbursement from E-rate.
The 19.
So we'll lower that. We'll
No.
lower that.
E-rate reimburses 90%.
And is that a guaranteed 90%?
Yes.
As
Okay,
long as
so
they
then-
apply, I think they have to apply every year, correct?
And we just got notification that we got it for next year.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. So I guess we wait for the notification to be able to reflect it. Maybe that would be safe,
Yes.
but that way we don't see it. Would probably be,
So that's gonna knock the number down to 265 or something like that,
2,000.
Yeah.
right? The overall number?
You're talking about the total, 284,000.
Oh, you're looking at-
Library total.
About 265,000.
Yeah.
and the software and maintenance agreement went up as well. Was there a reason for that? Or, I mean, we usually budget it, but
Yeah, it's.
we just
typical
budget that
they
much
try
more.
to go up every year.
Every year.
So if council will look at that, it's 18,865.50, but they safely budgeted 22,400. So that's, could be a little wiggle room.
2,600, so 25.
That's like another 18, 19, 20, about 4,000. Right?
$4,000 difference.
15,200.
I think that corresponds with the fiscal year, right? I haven't
Yes.
seen their quote or anything this year.
It does.
Okay.
Lana, what's that copier lease?
All of our copiers are leased, so each department has a budget item to pay for those.
How many copiers do you all have?
We have one.
Just one?
That's a lot, right, for one copy?
Wow. How big is it? $5,000?
It takes up
It
half
probably
the
does
half
all
the
kinds
library.
of
Walk in, there it is.
It's in a room by itself.
It'll fly you to the moon.
It's the Oz. That's a good point, Mr.
That's a
Molina.
Jim question.
That's crazy. That's
That's a lot.
$48.85 a year for one printer.
much pay for itself with the fees that the patrons are paying to get copies and stuff.
A quarter at a time, they do that much, Jim?
Sometimes 50 cents.
Sometimes 50 cents.
Well, it better come with paper.
But that's a good point too. It does come with the maintenance and, if something goes wrong, they come out and fix it.
There's a
and
paper, a
And the
line
toner,
item.
it's just the paper.
toners and, yeah.
Go down a little bit.
Of course, that's a year, so we gotta give them a little bit of credit. 12. Yeah, so it's about 400 a month. Yeah. Quarter at a time. That's 1,628 copies, which with that foot traffic, easily be done. Mhm.
Used to anyway until we closed.
Yeah.
Right.
So then what are we repairing? Maintenance services at 13,000. What do we repair out there? I know that AC took a big, for repair. Would that be included in that, or it's under purchased property services, vehicle repair, maintenance services, finance?
Oh, the facility repair, we put 1,350, is that the one you're looking at?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No. That's
Electricity.
electricity.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, yeah.
I was like, that's.
Let me use this handy ruler.
I was to say, but we
Yeah,
did
I
have
had
some
to use my ruler too.
high expenses on the AC.
Yeah, sorry, Miss Vanessa. No,
That's okay.
That's electricity.
I don't see anywhere you.
Our
can-
maintenance went down, actually.
It's hard for y'all too, I know.
And we do shop our copiers, correct?
Mhm.
Do we shop them hard? That's always one, right? The copiers is a big expense, just citywide. Because that number always pops in every budget, every department. Ugh.
But that copier lease it includes maintenance on,
Yeah.
in that number too.
And
so-
toners and
toners.
that's what I just said, yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah, sorry.
And we
it
do try to
includes-
space them out too, like, on third floor, we kind of all share.
Yeah.
Well, finance does have one for all the checks and stuff, but then, like, third floor has one, and we, like, all the departments up
Yeah.
there share it.
So you're gonna see this in other
Mhm.
budgets.
And it's always big. Well, council.
Telephone service, what? That's just the landline?
Yeah, the lines on the phones. And then, we lease the phones, so there's also a line item for that.
Okay,
And that's also citywide.
got it.
So you'll see it on in different items, different budgets.
Yolanda, these are subscriptions, like computer subscriptions or
These are the
magazine?
Magazines.
Like physical magazine? Huh.
And we, I think 3 years ago, I cut on that. Weeded out the magazines that weren't getting any.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She did cut it.
So the books we showed 3,538 actual activity. But we budgeted 14. So is that another one that we could see that maybe doesn't hit that full potential?
It just, that's one of them that always comes in lower at
At the end of the year.
Yes.
I wonder if we should start budgeting that lower. How do you feel about that?
I think we have, I think.
I mean,
we-
it
we-
is.
Yeah, the past,
Mhm.
3 or 4 years, we've cut
Your actual
on their
activity.
little.
Yeah,
Yolanda,
dramatically.
is that one too where they keep that open PO though, where they're buying books throughout the year and we pay them as, okay. So it's as they buy them, yeah.
I think she makes 3 p.m.
3, okay.
These are physical books, right? All physical, nothing on computer, okay. So have you heard like of a virtual library where they do a different form of?
I have, and I believe at one time before I was at this library, that our library tried to do the e-readers,
Mhm.
and it wasn't very a successful
It
program.
didn't.
I don't know about, we haven't tried anything since then, though.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, Yolanda, the, like, the budgeted number, like 14,000 for books. So is that like just new books that are coming out that we
Yeah,
buy?
like a new releases, and then we are constantly, you have to weed out your books per the Archive Commission, and you have to keep X amount of books that are current. There's a formula for that, and that's kind of where the rotation of the books comes.
And like, what are these, I'm just kind of curious, another one of my Robert Molina questions. What kind of books are these? Like, I'm just curious.
What kind of books?
Like, what kind of books are they, like, are they?
Oh, they're hardcover books.
But like, are they like, the majority for children, or are they like kind of in between? Or
It's-
what's the percentage like?
So it's children's books and nonfiction, fiction, and then your reference books, your World Book encyclopedias.
Biographies?
Biographies, yes.
Think about writing one.
Well, if it's a bestseller, we'll buy it.
Sell your book. That's good.
We,
For the whole budget.
That's interesting.
we get a list of the books that are coming out, like the authors, your popular authors, and so
Right.
we try to get. We used to actually lease them, and we had to turn them back, but we changed that a couple of years ago to keep the books.
Yeah.
Instead of leasing them, we would lease like 7 books. So now we just get like 1 or 2 copies of that new release, and we keep them in circulation instead of sending them back. So in the lease, that line item doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, why aren't we leasing, or why don't we go back to leasing? Or, I mean, what was the cost difference? Or-
It was, we were probably had like $6,000 a year in leasing the books, and we had to return, we were only, from each order, we would only get to keep 2 or 3. So, and this was on the bestsellers. So they were getting 10 bestsellers, but we weren't circulating 10 bestsellers on a weekly basis. But we could circulate 2 and then keep those in rotation. So we would keep those. And before, we would get 7 to 10 and have to send them all back and forth.
Right.
And so now we decided to buy them.
So now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But, so, like, what was the difference in costs, leasing versus, like, the
Okay, so
purchase?
we still had a line item for books, and we had a line item for leasing the books. So we were able to just do away with the whole leasing books and just keep the purchasing books at the same, which I think at that time was 20,000. Then we took it down to 16, and then I think 14.
So you're saying like 6,000 a year to lease?
Mhm.
And then, so would there be a way that we could mix it, like do a lease and a small purchase? Is that possible or no?
That's what we were doing.
But instead of like 20,000, could you do a smaller amount, or they cap it? They say you have to spend this
No,
much?
no, no.
No?
No, they don't cap it.
Because that might be something, and that way we'd always have the circulation of the new books, but then you decide which ones you want to buy, but then we could lower the budget possibly in that, maybe?
Does the grant get affected by doing that? The grant for the books?
I don't know that the one we just got awarded does.
Does the grant cover the books,
We've
or-
got a project description
Yeah.
of what it is. It's a resource.
She could pick and choose the books
for
if she knows that people are.
And then buy
Okay.
those, and then continue with the lease, like a smaller amount to
Because
purchase.
those, that grant really helps, and so. Gotta take that into account if that's.
But that was a grant, that we don't always get that yearly. Like this year was computers, yeah.
Yes.
So it
The-
has to be budgeted so that we do get books, because it's not a
Yes.
definite book.
15% of the library budget on library materials such as books, DVDs, CDs, audiobooks, and at least 1 item per person, or expanded to more than that, in order to be accredited and to apply for these grants.
So what happens to the old books? Do you sell them, or do you?
We put them there in the front and sell them through the Friends of the Library.
Oh, okay.
And they get the money, and then they buy us whatever we need. It's Miss Sarah Perkins.
Oh, yes,
She's,
yeah. That's great, okay. I was curious about those. Since we own them.
Council, any questions? Mr.
Well,
Burke?
I'd like to look into your suggestion about
Like
the.
a partial?
Yeah, the
Miss-
partial.
Miss Bueno, could you do
See if
that
she
for
could
us?
look into that for
And
us.
see if we could, for the next meeting,
If that
you know,
would be
go over.
beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Because right now we have $14,000 budgeted, but in all reality, we went through 3,538 last year, correct?
We still.
2019.
We still have some POs open for that.
Okay. Oh, so that means
For
that's
the
gonna be
end of the
higher?
fiscal year, yes. Because we don't pay for those until all the books are received and processed.
Okay. So that will be a little bit higher or a lot higher?
It'll be probably 8,000 altogether,
Okay.
7 or 8.
Because 2017 was 10,000, so you're forecasting about 7 or 8, because you try to cut a little bit.
Yes, I
Okay.
always do that.
Well, maybe if you can look at something like that, like at a 10, right?
Yeah.
And do a lease and then a purchase, if possible. Then that way we do have circulation of new, but then we still keep some,
Yes.
maybe.
Well, it's worth exploring.
This is your craft, girl, you know this.
Say it'll work, it'll work.
I'm kind of seeing that, you know, there's really not a lot to trim away from this, just because, you know, and you're doing an excellent job, by the way, Yolanda, you know, kind of, you know, keeping the lid on everything. But, you know, I can't help but look at it and say, man, that's a lot of money, you know?
Of course.
And I've the last couple of budget sessions, I've felt the same way, but I just kind of stayed, well, you know, we need it, you know, we have to do this. I see the numbers. I'm really not alarmed by it. I think that I think they're low, you know, just me personally, but, and I drive by there every day, you know, maybe it might have to be, you know, maybe running a more efficient operation with less employees, you know, and by that I mean, you know, we're lacking in the code department, you know, maybe we can, you know, bring one of these, you know, employees from there over here, you know, to kind of help cut back, you know, kind of, I know we're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but, you know, the guys, we need to find some wiggle room somewhere, and, I mean, here we are grilling Yolanda about this, and, you know, we're kind of, you know, we're butting our head against the wall on some of these things that are just
It's all very accounted for.
essential.
It's
you
all
know.
very accounted for.
But that, I mean, like I said, the bulk of it, you know, we're estimating, what, 197,000 of it, which is probably almost more than, what is it, 2/3, or, I don't know, I can't do the math, but, so I don't know, maybe going down that avenue, you know, I don't know what council thinks about that, but that's just my kind of suggestion versus, you know, trying to take on something that's been there for a long time and trying to kind of revamp it. And, I mean, you know, we sit here and look at $14,000 worth of books, and it is what it is, I guess, right?
And we can look at different hours of operation, and that affects staffing levels, of course. You know, if you.
Because salary does exceed the entire
Yeah, it's a big
budget
chunk.
for because the library budget, if you took out salaries, would be 126, 800 and something about. I mean, of course, we need people at
run
least
it.
too. I know.
But right now, you said there's only one at the library.
Right now,
Yeah.
it's a one-person operation because, and we don't know how long that's going to be the norm. A lot of the things we're doing are going to become norm.
Right.
For instance, sanitizing the books. Like,
Absolutely.
We're going to keep doing that forever.
Yeah.
You know, different things like that. So
Mhm.
right now, it is a one-person operation because the rest of us are over here.
And how's that going?
It's going well.
Yeah, no, it's working, and that's why, you know, we've been working on this for a while as far as how to best utilize the library and keeping the hours, you know, as minimum as we can. And so, the cross-training idea that we talked about before, and getting these people used to doing other things where we need help.
Mhm.
You know, there's, in utility billing, we need help.
Right.
You know, we're information-driven and statistic-driven, and, you know, we're looking at the phone calls. We've looked at how many phone calls we have there, the peak days, and how long a call takes. And, you know, that new system that we bought last year, the phone system, allows us to do a lot of tracking. And so, you know, that tells us, you know, when the peak days are and when we need help. And so the staff here, even though right now, they're getting allocated here, but the reality is they're kind of moving to
Right.
some other places already.
Well, why don't we, I make that suggestion, or we make that suggestion that, you know,
Yeah.
we revise it to, you know, cut it back to that one employee that's running it as efficient as possible until things change, you know, with our pandemic situation. And, plus, like I said, relieve some of the, you know, the pull on the other departments that are kind of, you know, hurting right now and needing more manpower, you know, more power.
I like your recommendation, Mr. Molina. Council, anything to add? Mr. Crisp?
I mean, I've agreed and I've kind of put my words out there about looking to reduce the days. I mean,
In
that would
addition
reduce
to,
payroll
right,
too,
we
because
could
you have
do
less
that.
people working, but I mean, it's so efficient. I don't know where to go with it. The big thing that we need to do is we need to push hard to try to get the county involved to help eat up that number. So that's I mean, it's being run to a point. I don't know what else to do, except for, like I said, maybe reduce the days. I don't know, but is that effective?
Mr. Burke?
Yeah, I just wanted to say and add that, you know, I've been looking at this for many years as a president of the Friends of the Library, member of the Board of Trustees of the library. And yes, you can move around and you can consolidate and you can, you know, nickel and dime here and there. But bottom line, I still am convinced, as I was 10 years ago, that until we come to some agreement with the county, that is our best option. That is our best move to try to work a better agreement with them. I don't know if it's feasible or, you know, will happen, but I still remain confident that that is necessary. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely correct.
But if that never happens, what are we gonna do, right?
Right,
So
it's
that's what we're
ours.
doing right
Mhm.
here, right now, but in the meantime, and like I said, that was a
Yeah.
two-part thing of
Right.
this, Councilman
Yeah.
Burke, you know, that, hey,
Mhm.
we gotta negotiate with them,
It's-
but it's not like,
yeah,
it's not like the
your
checks in the
library
mail.
is just one of those things, a community service nationwide that is not making money. And so then you have to decide, cut services? I mean, that's,
Right.
or how do you increase a revenue stream? And those revenue streams that you can add to them are very limited and small. It's
Actually,
not a money-making.
Good point.
Miss Yolanda, if you would look up, there's, I want to say it's in McAllen, where they actually, I know this sounds like an oxymoron, but they have a successful library, a money-making library, which was weird. When we were at TML last year, Mr. Crisp and I went to the class, I don't know if you did, Mr. Crisp, on libraries. It said how to make your library make money. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Like, how? And so I sat in the class, and oh, gosh, it's in the valley somewhere. It was an old Walmart. Imagine that, having an old Walmart as your library. I would die probably, but it's a huge Walmart that they took and they redid as a library, and it's a successful library. Well, the gist of their class was on renting out the space in the library to be able to service the community. So you need space to do a meeting, you need space to do something, you use the library. The library, if we don't keep it front line to people, they forget about it. Just like some of us did sitting here, when we see the numbers, we're like, what? That's crazy, that footwork. So if you would, and I can reference my notes too if you don't find it. I want to say it's McAllen. One of those, it's a valley one. Very successful, very
it's
awesome
McAllen.
class. It is McAllen, Mr. Crisp. So very successful library. They had great ideas, and I'll dig up my notes from that class and give them to you, because it was wild. It was actually kind of weird to sit there and it was like, really? And she made that comment. She said, you know, I really hoped that there would have been more people sitting in this class, because this is true good information. So it's not so much the traditional library service that, like what we're thinking, go and read a book or whatever. One example was, you know, they hosted something for the high school kids there, of course, pre-COVID, so pre-prom celebration at the library. And they just did a whole park party, like a parking lot party for the kids going to prom. And they exchanged, you know, different things, or I don't really know, but they had some really out-of-the-box ideas. And I understand theirs is huge, but ours is pretty big. I mean, we have a pretty big library. So, and I know we have rooms that we could use. They would rent it to Rotary. They would rent it to different organizations that would pay a small fee just to be able to help the library, you know, be a friend of the library. You know, the community gets involved to give the library business, to remind people the library is there, use it. I know the workforce did some work there a while back. They taught some classes. So it's about putting it out there and marketing our own library.
And just to add to this, if
And-
we, if we make any more changes to the hours of operation, we will lose our accreditation. And so we will lose the E-rate, which is the most important thing that we.
Right.
Okay, we have to find that balance there where we don't risk accreditation, because
Well, I know it wasn't easy that last time that we did that, and then that's why it was we went back to it because it was not working. Because again, we're a customer service, quality of life, like Mr. Burke said, you know, that we're here for the citizens. It's not a profit maker, but we have to remember what it's there for. It's for the people that need the library on a daily basis, that don't necessarily have the things that we have at home, the phone or the computer or what have you, and they need to submit paperwork. Well, you know, life happens and they can't really get it done ahead of time sometimes.
But that's definitely looking into the McAllen Library. I mean, why reinvent the wheel if somebody already has a
Yeah.
template and they're doing it a certain way?
And I'll definitely, and maybe you can meet with her, you know, or something, or call her. But I'll take up my notes too, because I took notes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought of these things. Very cool.
Because that building is big enough to,
Oh, yeah.
you know, re-accommodate and kind of
And it's beautiful.
restructure.
And it's beautiful.
You
I
know,
mean-
I agree with you because being on Workforce Board of Directors, we've had our CEO, the judges, and all of us met at the Richard Borcher.
Yeah.
There's a library there, and there's a conference room that they had a space that they rented out.
Yep.
You know, and it brought revenue to the
Right.
library. So that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's quiet there.
It's quiet.
Quiet, yeah,
It's-
private.
And it is. It's beautiful.
And you know, the Chamber of Commerce is no longer here, but they used to rent out their big boardroom
Right.
to people as well. So
Absolutely.
there is a need out there for that. Of course, that was pre-COVID, but I'm
Right.
sure, you know, it's an idea to look into.
Yes,
Well-
ma'am.
Can I just say something? A lot of libraries, what they do is they hold, sometimes they hold classes like ESL,
Mhm.
you know, their second language.
Right.
They do GED classes, things like that, so.
We used to, right, Yolanda? We used to host those classes.
When it was the Education Service Center, I believe.
Right.
Before they went to
ESC,
the Armory,
mhm.
or was it Del Mar?
Yep. Then Delmar
Del Mar,
took
it was
over.
Del Mar.
Yeah.
So is that a free program, or is that something that somebody would pay to have done?
No, there were free programs.
It's the
Uh-huh.
GED program. They were
Yeah.
using the library before they went to the Armory. It was Del
Oh,
Mar.
I see. That's great.
Yeah. So there's option. We just need to reinvent the wheel and market it like what it is. It's a cool building. Beautiful.
I think
Yes, ma'am.
years ago, we had like a literacy program also, and, but I think it was a grant, and they would pay for the girls that would teach it, for them to stay after hours and teach it. But it was years ago. But I'm thinking it was a grant. I'll have to check. It was years ago though.
Yeah, I wonder if we could look it up and maybe, sometimes they don't do the same thing, but they do a little
Different
spin off of it
programs.
and that we can, I think we just need to do a little bit of work on it. Yes, sir.
I hate to be the guy who always, you know.
You always are.
kinda
It's
goes
okay, sir.
negative about it.
Go ahead.
That was a $24 million project,
The HEB,
the Walmart conversion.
I mean the Walmart, I mean the
100
Walmart.
I was looking it up here, 123,000 square foot Walmart converted to it. It cost $24 million to do. So I
Yes,
know
sir.
we're not looking at anything
But we're not
like
gonna
that,
spend that money
but
on
we
it.
We need to be realistic in the idea that trying to pull something off is gonna cost us money too,
How?
if we wanna try to convert it. The reason
No, we're not
they're
converting.
successful
Nobody's
is they
constructing
have
anything, Mr. Chris.
arcade systems, they have kitchens, they have culinary classes, they have everything far above and beyond. But we need to be realistic. If we want to do something good, we're gonna have to put money into it. That's money we don't
We
have.
can start with what we have, because obviously we don't have construction funds to make kitchens.
Exactly.
So.
So when we
We'll start with what we
talking
have.
about,
A big conference table.
That's right. We have
the gold
space.
standard,
We have space. It's
So
huge.
what we could do is, right off the bat for this budget year, is add to our fee schedule a rental fee for the big room and a rental fee for the small room.
Right.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And advertise it and.
Yeah, get the word out on the website and Facebook.
We can do small. We can do something.
That's,
Doing nothing is not an option right now. Doing a small something is better than doing nothing at all. So,
I like the idea of utilizing the library and keeping it going. You know, whatever we can do.
Well, back to what Ron said, you know, getting the county on board, you know, I mean, hey, this is their community too, right? I mean, they need to kind of come up to the plate and
Definitely.
I was, you know,
Yeah.
I'm you know, I'm kind of disappointed that they're not wanting to kind of at least say, hey, let's, because it's my understanding that they're not contributing anymore, right? Or are they?
Right.
Okay.
They're funding the Fremont Library. I was told also when I had conversations that, that the building is theirs, so they're keeping it up. And I said, you know, maybe I can offer you our building too, so they can fund the City of Alice, Trumbull County Library.
Well, you know, like I said, the reappointment of maybe those two employees, because they're already kind of doing other things, right now?
In the UB department.
Okay,
And then
okay.
our reference librarian, she works, she has a shift at the drive-through. And then her and Roger, they do the recordings for the programs. Right.
Okay, and then any reduction in hours without losing our gradation over there? And then, like I said, this number is really not 284, right? It's more like 265 because of the forgiveness or whatever. So, I mean, I think I have the number written down. I mean, that looks a lot better than it did when we first sat down.
Pretty shaved.
And then, like I said, look into, you know, maybe some type of retrofit where, you know, we can, you know, bring it up to a more modern level, you know. I mean, 'cause it's a big building. It's probably too big for what we're doing right now, you know, but and utilize it in other ways. I don't know, right?
Well, Ms. Bueno, thank you so much. And thank you, always, you're an exceptional employee that always goes above and beyond, and I appreciate that. I'm really wowed by your cross-training and creating your bubbles with safety in mind. I appreciate that, out-of-the-box thinking. It's very much appreciated, always. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara, you want to run a little bit? Since you're there. You guys-
Thought you were gonna get away. That's all right. Good evening, Mayor and
Barbara.
Council. The Grant Administration Department researches funding opportunities for projects that other city departments have identified as needing financial assistance. And as we find funding opportunities that may fit those projects, we get together with the department and we form a team, prepare an application, submit it, and then if we are awarded funding, our department helps that particular department implement the project. And critical to the team in implementing is our accountant in the finance department, because she does the reimbursement requests and other items that are necessary. During this fiscal year, we've submitted applications for the police department, fire department, water production, the groundwater project through Texas Water Development Board, engineering. We've submitted two pre-applications and an application for 2 drainage projects. And those applications are currently being reviewed. We've also submitted applications for the library. We are also continuing to work with Patrick and other team members on the COVID-19 funding opportunities, which are being presented to the city, that include the airport, the police department, and then the funding opportunity through the Treasury Department that has various types of projects that can be funded. So we're continuing to work with Patrick and his team on that. During this fiscal year, my assistant prepared the AWA minutes from the AWA meetings, and she also assisted in the preparation of the AWA agendas, as well as taking care of the hotel motel occupancy tax that's due the city. She'd prepare the letters, send those out, do follow-up with the hotelers, would meet with Roland and with our other colleague in the finance department who had been doing hotel motel tax, and then follow up with them, follow up with me, and also do some research through the comptroller's office. And we took the hours she spent on that and expense those to Fund 220, the Hotel Motel Tax Fund. So through the pay period that just ended last Friday, we have approximately $1,500 in savings in the grant administration salary line item. That's where we found our way to make a cut in the grant administration, was to expense that particular project to Fund 220.
Which is going where, Miss Barbara? I'm not familiar with the number.
The Fund 220 is the hotel motel tax.
Okay.
And so her wages and a little bit of mine, when I would work with her on things, were coming out of that. And we would code that on our timesheets as Fund 220 and give a description of it.
Okay.
Barbara, it's kind of, another department that touches, every other department, fire and police and grants and things like that. And so it's kind of all around general.
And I'll mention something I was thinking about. Many of these grants and other funding opportunities we apply for require RFPs and RFQs, and those publications costs are coming out of 802.
Correct.
Right.
So when you see budget amendments, that's what those are for publication costs.
I wonder if we could, because city clerk also has that, where we use some of their funds for things like that, ordinance printing or things like that. Is there a way that we could put that in one so that it doesn't appear to be coming out of their budget? Because a lot of it, like publications and, things like that are really necessary for the city as a whole, not necessarily her department or her department. Because then it makes their departments look like they're spending more in their department and it may be not that big, but I mean, it adds up.
We do have the general service that a lot of times will catch something that especially benefits the whole city or all the departments.
Yeah.
But if it's something more tailored like to their department,
Okay.
then we do try to code it with their department. But we do have the general service, which is the 100-105, and that one is kind of like benefits everybody kind of thing.
All the subscriptions for ordinances should fall there then.
Which subscriptions?
All the ordinances that get codified.
We'll see in.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just
Well,
saying.
I don't know.
Is that-
We've always kind of done it to city clerk because it's like the city clerk.
That's the function of the city clerk.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
a function of the city clerk.
The expenses aren't
That's just
necessarily.
weird, though.
They're in that department, but I mean, it's just the natural way of a budget, where it's gonna work.
Or is that the old way it was
The
done?
o- the only
It's
other-
just always done that way.
The other benefit is that when we want to track grants that were applied, it's easier to go to that one line item,
Department.
one department, and say, okay, all of these grants, regardless of which department it was for, it's easier to track than having to go through each individual departments to find out what grants did we apply for. Here it's all in one, and we just look it up and we say this grant, that grant, that grant.
And-
That's the only
and-
other benefit.
And they did tell me that. We had a discussion within the past month about that because the most recent RFP and RFQ, I knew the publication costs were going to exceed my budget.
Yeah.
And I did have that conversation with them, and they explained that to me, that it'd be easier to track. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention, when you
Yeah.
see the overage, it's
Right.
because there are a lot of publication requirements with these programs.
Yeah.
Especially CDBG.
And some of them do get reimbursed, or if they do get funded, correct, Barbara? So
Not CDB, I'm not sure about CDBG.
But
These
there
are prior to getting an award.
Right.
Now,
Right.
post-award, there might be.
Yeah, there's
because
sometimes there are.
there
And
might
if they
be.
do, a lot of times we'll give that grant like its own fund number,
Mhm.
like its own little separate,
Mhm.
and then we'll move that expense because it can be
Mhm.
reimbursed. So we kind of move it out of hers and we'll like move it over there.
But if it doesn't get funded, it stays in yours.
It stays with
Right.
them, yeah.
And CDBG has publication requirements pre-award and then post-award. And most recently, when y'all adopted the policies, all those policies several months ago, and there were, publications with regard to that, so.
But, we're separating them is a more accurate way to do it, where instead of putting everything in one general services account that has to get allocated, here you're able to see what department it actually comes into, it actually touches. So anything to do with grants, it has to get, if they're doing an RFP or allocating something to there, that's gonna be allocated there instead of a general service, and then we'll have notes on general services. And so you'll have one big line item under general services that you'll have.
So you couldn't do it opposite? I mean, just flip it, where it's under general services,
You
and then you
can.
just,
I mean,
yeah.
we can put all those expenses on general service. You'll just have a big number of general services,
Right.
but
But it would be more accurate because it's a publication for the entire city of Alice versus her department or her department.
well.
I mean,
no,
it's
that-
coming out of the department, I get it, it's coming out of the department, but it's for the city of Alice. I mean,
Well, all
The
of them are.
publication,
So
yeah.
that's why, so if we're allocating, the ordinances on the city clerk side, the city clerk is who manages all the ordinances
Mhm.
that we do, so that we know that that's where it goes.
Mhm.
If we put in general services, now we're like, okay, which one is it? We've had this $15,000 line item, and we have to go back and say, let's dig deeper to see where it goes.
I get it,
might
I
get
get
harder
it.
too, like if you put all of those, because now, okay, it's not just city clerk, now it's this one, this department. So
Right.
you have to add them all up and then come up with a new number now for general service. You know what I mean? To where like if it was just in city clerk, we know she spends this much, so you know what I'm saying? Like you kind of make sure you put the right amount for her
Mhm.
because you know how much she usually spends. Whereas general services, it's gonna be several departments and make
Mhm.
sure we include everybody to make sure we don't miss anybody. That might be a little where we might get like worried that we might
I'm just
miss
saying,
something
like,
too.
y'all are on the number side, which I can see totally where y'all are coming from. It makes it easier for y'all to see and for you to easily access their departments. But like on our part, we come and we look at this budget, or the citizens, because they're able to look at our budget, and they're like, oh my God, what are they doing for that much? Well, they're not gonna go and look at, oh, this is a publication for her RFPs. They're gonna be like, oh my God, that lady spends so much in that department. Or city clerk, why is that so huge? Is she getting paid that much money? And it's really a publication. No, don't do that, like, that's serious,
But
like,
then that's gonna be
like,
under general services, and then you're gonna have a bigger number under one, where it's gonna be like, wow, that's a huge number, and then.
but it
now
is a
there's
huge number,
allocations.
general services anyway.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we have to try to allocate,
Right.
that are more difficult to allocate.
I get it. I
Yeah.
guess you're not getting my side, but I just would like to see that it's visible. I mean, like when I look at it, I'm like, oh, but then we take out this much. So what y'all are saying on your side, I'm saying on my side. Oh, well, now I have to take this out, and I have to take this out, because this is really same thing. It's just, but y'all do the job all the time, so y'all keep it your way. He's like, I still don't get it. He never gets me.
Well, I think that, the idea behind the accounting principles is try to allocate it as closely as possible to the department it's gonna go in.
Right.
And then that's where, and if it's very difficult to do, then it's gonna be under general services, or, there's allocations that go back and forth. I mean, we do an allocation because, same thing with, the administration touches all the departments. And so there's an allocation for that, and so, yeah.
I know exactly
We
what
can-
you're saying, but it's just flipped. A publication is a publication. Right? Anyway, Mr. Burt, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
I'm okay.
Ms. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. And thank you for your hard work on all that you do. We really appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Barbara. Thank you.
Always at it, Ms. Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. No, I'm good. No, I'm good, thank you.
I was gonna say, save the best for last, so you or Robert, right? Which one? Robert?
Uh-oh.
Robert.
Double trouble.
Robert. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, City staff. Demetrio Duarte, Public Works Utilities Assistant Director. Also have the responsibility overseeing the garage. I've been there for 2 months. The city garage provides maintenance of the city vehicles and mechanical equipment. Currently, we have 175 vehicles in our fleet. That includes the lease vehicles and 125 pieces of equipment. Pieces of equipment are trailers, backhoes, tractors, mowers, things of that nature. It does not include your chainsaws, your weed eaters, small equipment. And that's where we are currently right now. The staff is 8 folks. Like was mentioned earlier, one of the mechanics got moved over to the golf course. And like was mentioned earlier, it would not, that position is not going to be filled. So I'm going to be working with 1 lead mechanic, 4 mechanics, a clerk, and 1 welder. Currently, we're averaging about 45 work orders on a weekly basis as far as coming in, and about the same amount, sometimes a little bit less, being completed and going back out. We're doing a lot of streamlining and restructuring in order to be more efficient in that department. Majority of the savings that's going to be projected for next year is on the overtime line, from going from 12,685 that was budgeted last year to 1,000 that is being forecasted for next year. For right now, I guess I can also say I'm foreseeing, I guess that's the right word, or anticipating that there might be some, at least a couple of folks that might be looking into retirement. So that's going to even lower down that group even more. Any questions?
Ms. Bowen?
Yes, I'm lost.
What
page are we on? I can't find it.
I was too.
61A.
I'm like,
We're in
which one?
61A.
Oh.
On the addendum. Yes?
That's why I
No.
can't find it, baby. I'm sorry.
Okay,
There you
Mr.
are.
Chris?
Right, I think that's.
I'll let you look through it, Ms.
Thank you,
Bowen.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chris?
Can't hear you.
Mr. Chris?
No, we're good, thank you.
He's coming. Good. Okay, Mr. Burke?
Robert here.
No, sir?
No.
Okay. Mr. Molina?
Thank you.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And Ms. Bowen?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, since I'm here, I'm going to do utilities as well.
Awesome.
I get my cheaters out. I put them away a little bit too prematurely there. On the water side, of course, as y'all know, we have a conventional water plant here at the City of Alice. We treat about 3.5 million gallons a day on average. So process starts over at Lake Corpus Christi, the 2 transmission lines, approximately 25 miles, all the way to Lake Finley, from Lake Finley to the water plant, from the water plant out to distribution into the 3 elevated storage tanks. Currently, we're at 8 positions there with, including myself. I have a lead operator, 5 operators, and a maintenance tech that continues to be shared between water and wastewater. So he's got the 3 plants. I know, reviewing the budget, the projection of, for 2021 is slightly higher than 2020. We continue to look at these budget lines individually, each one. The ones that we're going to be looking at real close because we're saving some savings. It's going to be 5250 in chemicals and 5401 with electricity. You all might see some increases on 5284 and 5647. And the reason that is so is because we're doing a heck of a lot more process control, a heck of a lot more analysis, a lot of more analysis or samples being shipped out for analysis. And what the savings there is that we're saving a heck of a lot more money on chemical. So that's something that we're looking at, and next budget meeting will give you some better numbers when it comes to those 4 lines. Any questions on water?
No. Mr. Burke?
No.
Mr. Molina?
No.
Ms. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
And I'm good.
Okay, I'll go to 508, page 122, which is maintenance construction. They, of course, are the ones that are out there 24/7 working on water leaks, sewer stops, making sure that everything that has to do with public health is flowing, both on the water and the wastewater side. I can tell you last year, those guys did over 1,000 leaks, 1,053 to be exact. Currently, there are 3 utility maintenance operators, 1 utility specialist, and 1 clerk for a total of 5 employees. A lot of work due to their ailing infrastructure. So they continue repairing as much as they can. That's why you see a big line as far as what we lean on is the extra help at $150,000 budgeted last year and at $375,000 this year. Again, at one time we had up to 18 total in that department. Now we're down to 5. Special projects helps out in that area as well, because special projects depends a lot on bond money. So that's where they're helping us out in that department to get that information going. And just a little bit of information on temps. All temps is the agency that we're using right now. We pay all temp employees or the agency from as little as $12 to as much as $22. Now, how they distribute that, that's up to them as far as percentage to their folks. Questions?
Mr. Molina?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No question.
Mr. Crisp? Mr. Crisp? Ms. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay.
None? None?
Questions? No?
Okay, we'll continue with wastewater department 514.
Dimitri, I have a question. How are
Sure.
your temps working for you, sir?
Right now, currently, we have 8.
8 temps. And does that number fluctuate?
Yes.
Up, down, both ways?
Both ways, depending on what's going on, and that's the beauty of it. If they're not working out, we just replace them right away. We don't have to go through the entire process of the hiring process. It's from one day to the next, we can get people in and out.
Okay. And this is a daily thing that y'all go through with temps, or?
Not really. Actually, there's 2 people that are on board right now that work for this, that work through the temp agency that we've hired on as city employees. So it gives an opportunity also to observe their skills. And if we have openings, we invite them, we entertain them, and encourage them to apply. And we've hired 2 here recently, maybe 3 within the last 6 months or so.
Did we ever entertain the Workforce Commission,
Workforce Solutions?
Yeah,
Yes, we have. Matter of fact, I interviewed one today for the garage.
okay, okay. Because that would kind of take local people and put them into jobs that probably
Correct.
need jobs?
Right, and it's a 6-week program.
Uh-huh.
After the 6 weeks, if there is an opening and they'll work out for us, we'll give an opportunity to get to apply and possibly get hired.
And they actually have the program where they pay for it. And
They
that's-
pay for it, doesn't cost us a penny.
I really would like to
Training.
entertain that.
We've utilized that before. Mr. Ramos just walked out, but we
Yeah.
did do that last year, I believe, with
Yeah.
a few different departments.
Because I know it's an excellent program that takes local people and then they pay for it.
Right.
The temp, we pay for from day
Correct.
one, hour one. So, I mean, I would like staff to look at utilizing the Workforce Commission, or the Workforce Solutions. It is a free program to the city of Alice and to anybody, any business that needs employees. And that's where our people are going first, to Workforce Solutions, to try to get hired. So instead of utilizing a temp agency, we could possibly save money and then still go through the same process, because it's a 6-week process. I think it's a win-win. I mean, I don't know, you know,
It's a
you
good
would.
program. I've utilized it at the water plant.
Yeah, okay.
It's real good.
They're typically local anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
for the most part, yes, sir.
I would like to look at that, Mr. Esparza, a little closer and see if we could utilize that.
Okay, to continue over in the wastewater side, Department 514, there's a total of 5 employees, 1 superintendent, 1 lead operator, 2 operators, and 1 operator pretreatment inspector. And also, just like in the garage, I'm foreseeing or anticipating 2 folks to retire. With that being said, the plan that I have for right now, and in speaking with City Manager Esparza and HR, we're looking at moving one of our water plant operators over to the wastewater side and possibly not refilling that water plant operator position to save some money there. So again, it has 2 plants, one on the north that has a capacity of 2.0 MGDs, and on the south side, 2.6. They average 0.5 on the north and 1.3 on the south. So again, they're old plants. A lot of expenses go into it. We're very fortunate, water, wastewater, that we have the AWA. So we lean on them as well when it's either a replacement or improvement. It's not for the O&M. The O&M, of course, falls back to the city.
Very good. Any questions, council? Mr. Chris? No? Ms. Bowen?
What is wearing apparel?
Uniforms.
Oh, okay. It's not any
And it's also,
special uniforms?
No, no
Like
special uniforms.
hazards?
They just, but it also includes your PPE.
Yeah, the PPE? Okay,
Yes,
good.
that comes out of that budget line.
Oh, good, okay. No, that's.
You're good. Mr. Molina?
And we might possibly be making some changes, right, given, you know, the horizon with the groundwater kind of pursuit that we're kind of seeing.
Yeah, and that would be, you know, the way that timing-wise.
6,
the
8
next
months down the
budget,
road.
We would be looking at some
Some
lot
type of
changes
revision.
As far as for.
Okay. Deal.
Yeah, we had an update just a while ago before this one with the Norris and Leal, Texas Water Development Board, and also Weisinger, the ones that are actually doing the drilling. They gave us a full recap of where they're at, when they're going to start sampling, which should be toward the end of this week, to draw the first water sample. So they're moving forward, excited about it, and hopefully see some groundwater here pretty soon.
All right.
Wow, that's great.
Champagne glasses.
Again.
As far as Department 516, which is special projects, again, like I mentioned earlier, there's 6 folks there. That includes the superintendent of special projects and maintenance construction, the lead CEO, which is also for both maintenance construction and special projects, and the rest are laborers, including equipment operators, pipe fitters, and workers. Again, they heavily depend on bond money. And right now, they're staying busy with helping out maintenance construction. We've had some AWA projects that we're going to be doing in-house as well that have been funded. So we're going to be looking at that as well to keep those guys busy.
These guys stay busy.
Pardon?
These guys stay busy.
They stay busy 24/7 and depending on staffing, and they do standby every 3, every 4 days.
Right. Mr. Burke, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
No.
Ms. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Crisp? Mr. Crisp? No? Okay, got it.
That's it.
Thank you, Dimitro.
All right, thank you for your
And
time.
thank you for
Good
taking
job.
on these new
Appreciate it.
duties. We appreciate it. Job done well.
Save the best for last, Robert.
Mr. Robert.
Mayor and council.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Mr.
Waiting
Guerra.
for me.
Absolutely. You're always worth the wait.
My name is Robert Guerra, you all know that.
Sir.
For a couple of years. I'm your solid waste superintendent. I handle your sanitation collection and your landfill disposal. We have a total of 28 people doing that. On the sanitation side, we service approximately 7,000 accounts, residential garbage pickup and commercial garbage pickup. On a average, we pick up 200 tons on your residential per week. Handle 4 trucks, and that's with a 8-man minimum crew. Your brush pickup, your commercial pickup, we handle 140 tons a week. Those numbers actually changed a couple of months ago. They were transposed. We would pick up more on the commercial side than on the residential, but since more people are staying home,
Right.
we're handling more trash from your household.
Right.
Makes sense.
And on your brush collection, we do an average of 300 cubic yards per day. That doesn't seem like we're moving along, but that's quite a number of trucks. Average size truck is a 24 cubic yard, so we're moving 300 cubic yards per day. We take all of those materials to our landfill, where we are responsible for following all the applicable statutes and regulations. We have to follow TCEQ rules for getting it done. Out there, we have a total of 7 positions. We are thinking of changing one equipment operator 3 to a relief operator to have a little bit of salary savings out there. We have had some savings over the course of the year, and that's been mostly through employee turnover or through attrition. Whenever you have that the majority of the savings will come from the personnel services. If the person is not there, we're not paying any of the additional costs for them. Fuel is the next biggest cost. Of course, we're at the mercy of the global market. We've been lucky, and I think we're gonna be lucky again next year. See, our maintenance supplies, we expect a lot of savings because we have replaced a couple of units in our aged fleet. We are needing just one more compactor at the landfill, and we're still looking at that. Do we have any questions?
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mr. Molina? Ms. Bowen?
Yes. Regarding your brush pickup schedule, how many trucks do you have in service right now that do brush?
We actually have 4 trucks in service,
Mhm.
but on any given day, we only run 1 operator and 2 trucks.
One operator, 2 trucks.
Especially now in summer, we're trying to get all of our employees to use all of their over on the vacation hours.
Mhm.
They need to use that before October 1st. So we've been working tightly with their schedule to make sure that they get that benefit out.
Okay.
We don't want them all gone at the same time, so
Mhm.
we're trying to get them.
So
service
are we behind schedule a little bit?
Yes, we are.
We are, right?
We had 3 major things happen at the beginning of the spring.
Mhm.
COVID. So we ceased operations on the brush pickup for a while we trained those people onto the residential side to know how to route.
Right.
Another was that when people stayed home, they started to trim trees.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they trimmed a lot of trees.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were able to go through 10 alleys on any given day, we're doing 3 or 4 right now.
Right.
Because of the amount of material out there.
Okay.
And one of the major things was before we purchased these trucks, these automated trucks, when an automated truck breaks down, instead of one man picking up 1,000 houses, then we have to pull people from another department, which is our brush crew,
Mhm.
and they have to go out, 3 men on that truck. So you've already lost 2 men off your brush crew to pick up that trash, and you can only pick up about 750 houses tops.
Mhm. Got
So
it.
sometimes we have to utilize both brush crews just to get the garbage pickup done.
Well, I
So
only.
we're taking care of that by the purchase
That's
of the
good.
equipment, by the replacement of the equipment.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a plus in the next couple of months.
Good.
And once we are able to make that initial circuit,
Mhm.
we should be okay again.
Good. I only ask because, you know,
It's
so the
terrible out
citizens know and they hear it from you, you know, with the issues. But the other question is recycle, I guess, falls under you as well?
Correct.
Okay. Now, we're only open one day, on Wednesday.
Wednesdays.
Do we have a need to open another day right now? I mean, do you see
We
an
don't have that
overflow
much.
of business
I
on
am
that?
not a big fan of recycling right now,
Uh-huh.
simply because the commodities market are so low
Mhm.
that it's actually costing us to recycle.
Got it.
We haven't had a rebate from our recycling firm for probably 6 years now.
Okay.
We're having to spend money to buy baling wire. We're having to spend money on the personnel. So I don't see a need to be open at all. However, that's not the correct answer for everybody.
I was like, wait a minute, I know.
We have people that do utilize the recycling center. It's
Yes.
not that much to be open daily.
Well, that's my
And so we channeled everybody to be there on Wednesday, so it, you know.
Okay, so we're doing good. with
But there are
the one day.
alternatives to recycling you can reuse.
Mhm.
Newspaper can be shredded and
Recycle,
used in your
reuse.
garden.
Mm-hmm.
Cardboard, same thing, shred it up, use it in your garden. A lot of people garden,
Mhm.
and they want mulch.
Well, maybe we can utilize our social media to inform our citizens of things they can do with their recycle as well.
On the reuse instead of the recycling.
Yeah.
So we're doing it once
That's a
excuse
good
me.
idea.
Once per week on
Okay,
Wednesday.
and how's the traffic on those days?
It's very high. We're
Oh.
actually sending not only the regular operator out there, but a couple of additional people to help.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I heard, so, well, good deal. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Crisp? No? Okay, I took that as no. Got it. Okay, Mr. Guerra, on the vehicle repair maintenance, I noticed that you did amazing. It came down from 114,775 to 46,596. So that was a big decrease in what you actually used from last year to, or the 18 to 19 to this one. What was the reason for that?
We're waiting for a couple of big tickets.
Oh, no. So is it going to equal out to that 100?
They're gonna be quite large.
It's
we're having
aging
to replace
product?
a couple of engines. One is a 2005, one is a 2008.
Okay.
But we're gonna be putting 2005 vehicles back into service.
Okay.
The life of a garbage truck should be 8 years tops.
Right.
And we're running a 2005.
Right.
Still running a 1997
Right.
on occasion.
And we had to lease a new?
We've had to lease a couple of trucks just to get through this.
Uh-huh.
Once we make those repairs to those two vehicles, once we get them back into our fleet, then those lease vehicles are going back.
But you've probably noticed more productivity with a newer, more dependable vehicle?
We're able to we're not only able to finish our routes, we're able to finish our routes on time.
Right. How much is, I know they're expensive, but I mean, is that something that, because you have, your fleet's old.
One was 176,000, the side loader, and I think the rear loader, or do I have that rear?
The other ones would be 290.
The rear loader.
That we're getting.
The automated.
Yeah.
We just got 2 new ones.
So we just got the 2 new ones?
Yes, we're
Were
okay
those-
for this budget year.
Were those
Okay.
paid with the grant, or
No.
No.
those were out of our general fund?
PPFCO
Oh.
that y'all approved.
Oh, okay.
There's some electric ones coming out that are supposed to be pretty nifty. Electric, quiet.
You want to get them a new toy?
Imagine the fuel costs that we would save, because they're electric. And they're quiet, and they have this app, and it tells you when your trash man is coming, so that you don't have to, because you can't hear the truck anymore. It's Kilcor, I think it's a huge company.
We don't have to go down honking at you.
Yeah, because they know the late one. I'm telling you, I'm always the one like, run in the morning. But yeah, it's a really neat, Republic is going to start using them. They bought about over $1 million worth of these trucks. And so that's just, I mean, I know.
It's something to look at.
Dreams.
To see what kind of cost they have initially, what kind of service station we have to have
Right.
for them, plus who's gonna be doing the maintenance, what's the closest
electric,
service center to us. So those are some of those things to
Yeah,
look at
future
whenever
things
something
to
comes
look at and research a little bit, because that would be a neat addition, wish list, right, Mr.
Or
Gale?
the lease one, maybe?
Right?
At least one, test it out.
Because just think of the fuel savings if you have a full fleet of
Be nice.
electric. Mhm,
Full fleet.
mhm. We can dream, right?
Yes, we can.
You don't dream, you have
Guerra,
nothing
thank
to
you,
reach
sir.
for.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Thank you for your couple years of service, sir. Couple times, 10.
Did Pete have any questions?
No, he gave me the signal. Okay.
That goes through everybody there, mayor and council. Just to remember we're still waiting on some information from the appraisal district as far as the actual tax rate that they're gonna apply. You know, we
Right.
send them, they're gonna apply a tax rate that's gonna fund this budget. And depending on how they divide that out, then we may have to make minor modifications, because, you know, the whole goal here is to have what they call now a no new revenue tax rate.
Mhm.
And so if it comes back a little bit higher than expected, we'll have to make some more changes to it. So that's where we are. There'll be a same agenda item at the next city council meeting. If anything else, you know, we'll make some of these revisions. We'll bring up some of these items that we're talking about today, and there'll be just a few more of these. I don't see a lot of these sheet changes like we had today.
Mhm.
Just, you know, 2 or 3, maybe 4. So that'll.
Can we
be
get
about-
those in advance?
Sure. Uh-huh.
Like a few days?
Yeah.
So that we can all have time to review them, and that way it can go smoothly, possibly. We can meet with
Did y'all,
finance sooner.
question real quick, did y'all give any more thought, the statement I made about the possibility of reduced ad valorem taxes being paid, the percentage wise?
We, the
Y'all froze
92%.
up on me. No.
I don't find this being the right time to.
Yes.
Yes, we did. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Crisp. We spoke to Jim Wells County Appraisal District, and they actually did a study, and they were a little surprised that the decrease was not as high as anticipated. It was roughly about 2%, so that's what we plugged in. So to answer, huh?
we will plug in.
Yes, on the following. So we're gonna go by, based on what their study was, and we'll plug in the 2%. So instead of, if it was 94%, we'll bring it down to 92%.
Okay,
Once we get.
thank you.
You're welcome.
It's the same as last year, right? The 92%? Is that the same as last year?
I was trying to remember that right now from the top of my
okay.
head. I don't remember exactly if it was 92%.
I thought we did 92 or 93 last year.
Okay.
I think we did 93.
Thought I saw
93.
92.
I think we did 93.
93 sounds, so we'll decrease it 2%.
Okay.
Council, any other comments, questions?
I think it's just the safest way to play it.
Good? Okay. Agenda item number 6, adjourn and or consider and act upon adjournment. The time is 6:04. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, city staff, as always, for your amazing hard work and putting up with us. And thank you, everybody at home, all the citizens. Good night and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
To make a motion.
Have a blessed day. Bye.
Motion to
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? I'm not opposed, obviously. This meeting is adjourned.
Okay,
Thank
Robert.
you.
And second was